The urgent message flashes across Jeffrey Powell's secure tablet, shattering the veneer of diplomacy in an instant. Earth's lead negotiator freezes, his eyes widening as he processes the encrypted transmission from human intelligence operatives. The evidence is damning, irrefutable. The Cardassian Empire, Earth's supposed galactic allies, have been systematically kidnapping and enslaving human children from remote colonies. Powell's hand trembles as he sets down the tablet, his gaze slowly rising to meet the smug reptilian eyes of Ambassador Ella across the negotiation table. The stark lighting of the neutral space station's conference room suddenly feels harsh, exposing every scale on the Cardassian's face. Ambassador Ella. Powell's voice cuts through the murmur of ongoing discussions, silencing the room. We've just received intelligence that your empire has been abducting and enslaving human children. Care to explain? Ella's reaction is instantaneous and damning. Her pupils constrict, her posture stiffens, and her hand instinctively moves towards the communication device on her wrist. That's preposterous, she hisses, but the tremor in her voice betrays her. Powell stands, his chair scraping against the floor. This meeting is over. Earth withdraws from all negotiations effective immediately. Chaos erupts in the conference room. The Earth delegation rises as one, backing towards the exit. Cardassian security personnel move to block their path, energy weapons humming to life. You're not going anywhere, Ella snarls, her diplomatic facade crumbling. Not with that information. Powell's mind races. They're outnumbered, outgunned, trapped on a space station far from home. But the stakes are too high to surrender. With a subtle nod to his team, he reaches for the ceremonial pen on the table, a gift from Earth's president, and now their only weapon. Now! Powell shouts, hurling the pen at the nearest light fixture. It explodes in a shower of sparks, plunging the room into darkness. The Earth delegation springs into action, years of emergency drills paying off as they fight their way through the confused Cardassian security. Alarms blare throughout the station as Powell and his team battle corridor by corridor towards their docked ship. They improvise weapons from anything at hand, maintenance tools, pieces of paneling, even a food synthesizer ripped from a wall and used as a battering ram. Finally reaching their ship, Powell slams his palm on the broadcast console. His voice, breathless and urgent, reaches every Earth colony and friendly alien race within range. This is Earth negotiator Jeffrey Powell. The Cardassian Empire has betrayed us all. They've been kidnapping and enslaving our children. We have proof. Earth is withdrawing from all agreements and preparing to defend itself. To any humans in Cardassian space, activate emergency protocols immediately. To our allies, we call upon you now in our hour of need. The Cardassians must be stopped. As their ship breaks free from the station, narrowly evading Cardassian pursuit vessels, Powell receives confirmation. Earth has declared a state of emergency. Admiral Sarah Chen is mobilizing the fleet, assembling at key points near Cardassian territory. On Earth, the United Earth government convenes an emergency session, scientists and engineers already being rerouted to weapons development. Powell's ship races towards Earth, carrying the evidence that will ignite a war. Behind them, the galaxy erupts into chaos as alliances shift and battle lines are drawn. One thought burns in Powell's mind, shared by every human who's heard his message. When it comes to our children, we won't hold back. The Cardassians are about to learn why you don't provoke humanity. As Powell's ship hurtled through space towards Earth, the gravity of the situation settled over the crew. The evidence they carried would ignite a conflict unlike any humanity had faced before. Powell's urgent transmission had set in motion a chain of events that would reshape the galaxy. On Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen received the encrypted message from Powell. Her eyes narrowed as she processed the information, her mind already formulating strategies. Without hesitation, she activated the command center's holographic display. "Attention all personnel," Chen's voice rang out, clear and authoritative. "We are now at war with the Cardassian Empire. Initiate Operation Liberator." The command center erupted into a flurry of activity. Officers rushed to their stations, screens flickered to life with tactical displays, and the low hum of computer systems intensified. Chen turned to her second-in-command, Commander Rodriguez. Assemble Task Force Liberator immediately. Our primary objective is to locate and rescue the enslaved human children. Simultaneously, we'll strike at key Cardassian military installations. Rodriguez nodded, his fingers flying over a touchscreen. Yes, Admiral, I'm coordinating with fleet captains now. We'll be ready to deploy within the hour. As Task Force Liberator took shape, the United Earth government convened in an emergency session. The grand chamber of the Global Assembly buzzed with tension as representatives from every nation gathered. President Marcus Harding strode to the podium, his face set in steadfast perseverance. The former Marine's presence commanded instant respect and attention. My fellow citizens of Earth, Harding began, his voice carrying to every corner of the planet via global broadcast. Today we face a threat unlike any in our history. The Cardassian Empire, once our allies, has betrayed us in the most heinous way imaginable, by enslaving our children. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembly and across the billions watching worldwide. We did not seek this conflict, Harding continued, his voice growing stronger. But make no mistake, we will end it. I hereby declare a state of war against the Cardassian Empire. We will not rest until every last human child is free and those responsible are brought to justice. As Harding's words echoed across Earth, the planet's industrial and scientific might shifted into high gear. At Aegis Defense Systems, lead engineer Dr. James Reeves stood before a massive holographic schematic of the Thunderbolt-class battlecruiser. Listen up, team, Reeves addressed the assembled engineers and technicians. We've just received orders from the top. The Thunderbolt project is now our highest priority. We need the first prototype combat-ready yesterday. He gestured to a complex design element. This is where we'll integrate the reversed-engineered Cardassian shield technology. It's our ace in the hole, people. Let's make it count. The team dispersed, their dedication palpable as they threw themselves into their work. Meanwhile, in a secure underground facility, Colonel Jack Harper, director of the United Earth Intelligence Agency, activated a heavily encrypted communication channel. Ghost operatives, this is Control. Harper spoke into the secure line. Operation Ghost is now active. Your mission parameters are as follows. Infiltrate key Cardassian military and political institutions, gather critical intelligence, and sabotage their war efforts from within. The fate of humanity may well rest on your shoulders. Godspeed. Across Cardassian space, surgically altered human agents, led by the cunning Major Alex Donovan, began to move into position. Their years of training and preparation were about to be put to the ultimate test. On the diplomatic front, Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, Helena Vasquez, stood before the assembled representatives of various alien races. Her voice rang out clear and passionate as she presented evidence of Cardassian atrocities. Esteemed members of the Council, Vasquez began, her gaze sweeping across the chamber. What you are about to see will shock you, it will anger you, but most importantly, it will compel you to action. As the evidence unfolded, testimony from escaped slaves, covert recordings of Cardassian labor camps, financial records detailing the sale of sentient beings, the council chamber grew deathly quiet. The Cardassian Empire has long hidden behind a veneer of civility, Vasquez continued, but today we expose their true nature. They are slavers, oppressors, and now, kidnappers of children. I call upon you all to stand with Earth in this dark hour. One by one, representatives stood. The Atarians, their crystalline forms shimmering with nearly unleashed energy, pledged their advanced technology to Earth's cause. The Zinthari, their telepathic voices resonating in the minds of all present, vowed to use their unique abilities to aid in the rescue of the enslaved children. As alliances solidified and Earth's war machine sprang to life, Admiral Chen's Task Force Liberator made its first bold move. The newly commissioned UES Avenger, gleaming and dripping with weaponry, led a fleet of warships towards the Cardassian shipyard in the Torak system. On the bridge of the Avenger, Captain Michael Thorne studied the tactical display. All ships, this is Captain Thorne. We have the element of surprise, but it won't last long. Hit them hard, hit them fast, for Earth and for our children. The human fleet dropped out of warp, their weapons already charged and locked on target. The Cardassian shipyard, caught completely off guard, erupted into chaos as the first salvos struck home. As the battle raged, a transmission cut through the radio chatter. "This is Tommy, age 14, calling any Earth ships. We've overpowered our guards and need immediate evac." Captain Thorne's eyes widened. "Sergeant Ruiz, assemble your team. We've got children to save." As the Marines raced to their dropships, the space around Torak lit up with weapons fire. The Thunderbolt-class Avenger proved its worth, its advanced shield shrugging off Cardassian attacks, while its own weapons tore through enemy defenses. The shipyard began to crumble under the human assault, but the battle was just the beginning. As reports of a massive Cardassian fleet near the Earth colony of New Eden reached Admiral Chen, she faced a critical decision that would shape the course of the war. War that would determine the fate of humanity and its place in the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the Torak system. The shipyard, once a symbol of Cardassian military might, now lay in ruins. Debris from destroyed vessels and station modules floated in eerie silence, punctuated by occasional explosions as unstable reactor cores detonated. "Admiral," her tactical officer called out, "we're receiving reports of a massive Cardassian fleet approaching the Earth colony of New Eden." Chen's heart made. She had anticipated this move, but the timing couldn't have been worse. With a deep breath, she made her decision. "Captain Thorne," she said, opening a channel to the UES Avenger, "take the bulk of our forces and make best speed to New Eden. Defend that colony at all costs." "Understood, Admiral." Thorne's voice crackled through the comm. "What about you?" Chen's eyes drifted to the tactical display showing the Cardassian shipyard. "I'll remain here with a smaller contingent. We need to secure this position and rescue any remaining human children." As Thorne's fleet disengaged and jumped to warp, Chen turned to her second-in-command. "Prepare boarding parties. We're going in." On New Eden, klaxons blared across the colony's main settlement. Governor Eric Sloan's voice echoed through public address systems. "This is not a drill. All civilians report to designated underground shelters immediately. Colonial Defense Force, man your stations." In the colony's control center, Sloan watched as the planetary defense grid hummed to life. Energy shields shimmered into existence over key installations, and surface-to-orbit cannons rotated into firing positions. "How long until the Cardassian fleet arrives?" Sloan asked his chief of staff. "Estimate 2 hours, sir," came the grim reply. Sloan nodded, his face a mask of dedication. "And how long until Captain Thorne's reinforcements get here?" 3 hours at best, Governor." Sloan closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his voice was steady. "Then we hold the line for as long as we can. For Earth. For our children." Back on Earth, in a classified military facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Major Jake Stone stepped out of the augmentation chamber. His muscles rippled with newfound strength, his senses hyper-alert to every stimulus in the room. Dr. Eliza Frost, lead scientist of Project Phoenix, approached him with a tablet. "How do you feel, Major?" Stone flexed his hand, marveling at the speed and precision of the movement. "Like I could take on a Cardassian battalion single-handedly, Doc." Frost allowed herself a small smile. "Let's test that theory, shall we? Your team is waiting in the combat simulator." As Stone led his 100 augmented soldiers through increasingly complex battle scenarios, the results were nothing short of astonishing. They moved within human speed and coordination, their enhanced cognitive abilities allowing them to process and react to threats faster than any normal human could. In Cardassian space, Major Alex Donovan crouched in the shadows of a high-security facility on Cardassia Prime. His surgically altered features allowed him to pass as a Cardassian, but his heart remained human, and it raced with a mixture of anticipation and rage as he accessed a secure terminal. "My God," he whispered as he scrolled through the data. The child enslavement program was far more extensive than they had imagined. Not just humans, but children from dozens of species across the galaxy were being held in Cardassian slave camps. Donovan quickly encrypted and transmitted the data to Earth before planting a virus in the Cardassian system. As alarms began to blare, he and his team made their escape, blending seamlessly into the panicked crowd of Cardassian officials. On Earth, Colonel Jack Harper received Donovan's transmission. His eyes widened as he processed the information. "Get me Admiral Chen," he barked to his aide, "and patch me through to Ambassador Vasquez. This changes everything." In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Helena Vasquez stood tall as she addressed the assembled representatives. The evidence provided by Donovan's team played on massive screens behind her. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her voice carrying across the hushed room, "what you see before you is not just a crime against humanity, but a crime against all sentient beings. The Cardassian Empire has enslaved children from countless worlds, including many represented in this very chamber." Murmurs of shock and outrage rippled through the audience. The Atarian representative, his crystalline form pulsing with nearly unleashed energy, stood. "Earth has proven itself a stalwart defender of galactic justice. We offer you the schematics for our most advanced energy weapons. Use them well." The Zinthari representative followed suit, her telepathic voice resonating in the minds of all present. "Our seers have foreseen the movements of the Cardassian fleets. We share this knowledge with Earth and its allies. May it turn the tide of battle." As the council erupted into a flurry of pledges and declarations of support, Vasquez allowed herself a moment of hope. The galaxy was uniting against the Cardassian threat. At Aegis Defense Systems, Dr. James Reeves wiped sweat from his brow as he made final adjustments to the UES Defiance propulsion system. "Fire it up," he called to his team. The massive engines of the Thunderbolt-class battlecruiser roared to life, the deck plates vibrating with terrifying power. Reeves grinned as he checked the readouts. "Perfect. Get the Fearless ready for launch. We're sending these beauties into battle." As the newly commissioned ships prepared to join the war effort, the crew of the UES Avenger raced towards New Eden. Captain Michael Thorne stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the console showing the blur of stars as they hurtled through warp space. Suddenly, an alert chimed. "Captain," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a distress call from a Zinthari science vessel. They're under attack by Cardassian forces in a nearby system." Thorne's grip tightened on the arms of his chair. The lives of everyone on New Eden hung in the balance, but the Zinthari were vital allies. Their telepathic abilities had already provided crucial intelligence. If he abandoned them now, it could jeopardize the entire war effort. "Helm," he said after a moment of tense silence, "adjust course. We're going to save those Zinthari." As the Avenger changed direction, Thorne could only hope that New Eden would hold out long enough for them to arrive. The next few hours would determine the course of the war, and perhaps the future of the stars itself. Captain Michael Thorne's eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. The distress call from the Zinthari science vessel blinked insistently, a silent plea for help amid the vast emptiness of space. His decision made, Thorne turned to his crew. "Plot an intercept course for the Zinthari vessel," he ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of his choice. "All hands, prepare for combat. We're going in hot." The UES Avenger and its accompanying fleet surged through space, stars blurring into streaks of light as they pushed their engines to the limit. As they dropped out of warp, the scene before them erupted into chaos. The Zinthari ship, its sleek silver hull marred by scorch marks and hull breaches, limped through space as 3 Cardassian warships circled it like predators toying with wounded prey. Without hesitation, Thorne's voice rang out across the comms. "Earth fleet, engage the enemy. Protect that Zinthari vessel at all costs." The space around them lit up with weapons fire as the Earth ships unleashed their fury. The advanced shields of the Thunderbolt-class battlecruisers glowed brilliantly as they absorbed Cardassian attacks, while their own weapons tore through the enemy's defenses with surgical precision. On the bridge of the Avenger, Thorne watched the battle unfold with steely tenacity. "Lieutenant Commander Chen," he called out, "prepare a boarding party. We need to evacuate the Zinthari and secure any data they might have." Chen nodded sharply, already moving towards the turbo lift. "Aye, Captain. We'll get it done." As the space battle raged outside, Chen and his team boarded the damaged Zinthari vessel. The interior was a maze of twisted metal and flickering lights. the air thick with acrid smoke. They moved swiftly through the corridors, helping injured Zinthari to their feet and guiding them towards the waiting Earth shuttles. In the ship's data core, Chen found a group of Zinthari scientists huddled around a console, frantically working to preserve their findings. The lead scientist, her large eyes wide with a mixture of fear and tenacity, approached Chen. "You must see this," she said, her telepathic voice resonating in Chen's mind. "We discovered a hidden Cardassian supply route. They're using it to transport enslaved children." Chen's blood ran cold as he absorbed the information. "Show me everything," he said, his voice tight with barely suppressed anger. Back on the Avenger, Thorne received Chen's transmission with grim satisfaction. As the last of the Cardassian ships exploded in a brilliant flash of light and debris, he opened a channel to Admiral Chen. "Admiral, we've secured the Zinthari vessel and obtained critical intelligence, sending you the data now." On Earth, the Rocky Mountain facility housing Project Phoenix buzzed with activity. Major Jake Stone led his team of augmented soldiers through a final series of combat simulations, their movements a blur of speed and precision. Dr. Eliza Frost watched from an observation deck, her eyes tracking the enhanced soldiers as they effortlessly neutralized holographic Cardassian troops. "Impressive," she murmured, making notes on her tablet. As the simulation ended, Stone approached Frost, his breathing barely elevated despite the intense exercise. "What's the verdict, Doc? Are we ready?" Frost nodded, a hint of pride in her eyes. "More than ready, Major. Your team's performance exceeds all our projections. You'll be shipping out to New Eden within the hour." In the depths of Cardassian space, Major Alex Donovan moved silently through the shadows of a high-security communication hub. His altered features allowed him to blend seamlessly with the Cardassian personnel, but his human heart raced with anticipation as he accessed a secure terminal. Lines of encrypted data scrolled across the screen as Donovan's fingers flew over the keys. Suddenly, he froze, his eyes widening in horror as he decrypted a series of orders from the Cardassian High Command. "They're planning to use the children as human shields," he whispered, quickly transmitting the intelligence back to Earth. As alarms began to blare, Donovan and his team melted into the crowd of panicked Cardassian officials, their mission complete but their hearts heavy with the weight of their discovery. On Cardassia Prime, Gul Dukat stood before a holographic display of New Eden, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. The orders from High Command were clear. Use the human children as shields during the assault. It was a tactic that turned his stomach, but he knew the price of disobedience. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered, his voice betraying none of his inner turmoil. "We move on New Eden as planned." As Dukat's fleet set course for the human colony, Earth's forces raced against time. The UES Defiant and UES Fearless, their hulls still gleaming from their recent launch, joined Thorne's fleet in setting up a defensive perimeter around New Eden. Admiral Sarah Chen, her face etched with lines of fatigue and dedication, addressed the gathered fleet commanders. "The Cardassians are coming, and they're using our own children as shields. But we have a plan." She outlined her strategy, a multi-pronged attack combining their new technologies, enhanced soldiers, and the element of surprise. As she spoke, a small team of operatives, their ships cloaked with Vulcan technology, slipped away from the fleet, their mission to infiltrate the Cardassian slave transports and rescue the children before they could be used as human shields. On New Eden, Dr. James Reeves worked feverishly to bring the prototype planetary shield online. Governor Sloan stood nearby, watching anxiously as Reeves and his team made final adjustments to the massive generators. "How much longer?" Sloan asked, his voice tight with stress. Reeves wiped sweat from his brow, his eyes never leaving the control panel. "We're close, Governor. Very close. But I can't guarantee it'll be ready before the Cardassians arrive." As the people of New Eden prepared for the coming storm, the augmented soldiers of Project Phoenix touched down on the outskirts of the main settlement. Major Jake Stone surveyed the terrain, his enhanced senses taking in every detail. "All right, team," he said, his voice low but carrying easily to his squad's augmented hearing. "Spread out and reinforce the colony's defenses. Whatever comes through that atmosphere, we'll be ready for it." In orbit above New Eden, Captain Thorne stood on the bridge of the Avenger, watching as the combined Earth fleet took up defensive positions. The tension was palpable as every sensor was trained on the edge of the system, waiting for the first sign of the Cardassian armada. Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. Thorne's tactical officer called out, her voice tight with urgency. "Multiple warp signatures detected. Cardassian fleet incoming." Thorne's eyes hardened as he watched the enemy ships materialize against the backdrop of stars. "All ships, battle stations," he ordered, his voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. "This is it. For Earth, for our allies, and for the children." As the two fleets faced off in the space above New Eden, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The Cardassians had numbers and the terrible advantage of human shields. But Earth had commitment, new technology, and the burning desire to protect their own. The battle for New Eden was about to begin. The clash of titans had arrived. The space above New Eden erupted into a dazzling display of weapons fire as the Earth fleet engaged the incoming Cardassian armada. Captain Thorne's voice rang out over the comms. "All ships, execute pattern Delta 6. Concentrate fire on their lead vessels." The newly commissioned UES Defiant and UES Fearless surged forward, their advanced weapons systems blazing to life. Streams of energy lanced out from their hulls, carving through the Cardassian ships' shields with unprecedented effectiveness. On the bridge of the Avenger, Thorne watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Keep pressing the attack," he ordered. "We need to buy time for the ground team." Below, on the surface of New Eden, Dr. James Reeves wiped sweat from his brow as he made the final adjustments to the planetary shield generator. Governor Sloan paced nearby, his eyes darting between Reeves and the sky above. "How much longer, Doctor?" Sloan asked, tension evident in his voice. Reeves didn't look up from his work. "Almost there, Governor. Just a few more?" His words were cut off by a sudden hum of energy. The air around them shimmered as a massive, translucent dome materialized over the colony. "We did it!" Reeves exclaimed, his face lighting up with a mixture of relief and pride. Sloan allowed himself a brief smile before turning to his comm unit. "All citizens, the planetary shield is now active. Proceed to your designated shelters immediately." As the colonists rushed to safety, Major Jake Stone and his team of augmented soldiers from Project Phoenix took up defensive positions around the colony's perimeter. Stone's enhanced vision scanned the horizon, picking out potential weak points in their defenses. "Alpha Team, reinforce the northern quadrant," he ordered, his augmented vocal cords carrying his voice clearly over the din of preparations. "Beta Team, I want those heavy pulse cannons operational in the next 5 minutes." The soldiers moved with inhuman speed and precision, their bodies pushing the limits of human capability as they fortified New Eden's defenses. In orbit, Admiral Sarah Chen received an urgent transmission from Colonel Jack Harper. "Admiral, we've received intel from our operatives on Cardassia Prime. There's a faction within the Cardassian military that opposes this attack. We might be able to use this to our advantage." Chen's mind raced with possibilities. "Understood, Colonel. Keep me updated on any developments. We need every edge we can get." As if on cue, a small Cardassian warship broke formation from Gul Dukat's fleet. It approached the Earth defensive line, transmitting on all frequencies. "This is Gul Rousseau of the Cardassian Union," a gravelly voice announced. "I seek asylum with Earth forces. I have critical information about Dukat's battle plans." Chen's eyes narrowed as she considered the implications. It could be a game-changing opportunity or a lethal trap. "Captain Thorne," she calmed, "escort that ship to a secure holding position. I want a full scan and shield analysis before we proceed." As Thorne's ship moved to intercept the potential defector, a high-speed transport emerged from warp at the edge of the system. Tommy, the boy from the liberated Cardassian slave world, stood on the bridge, his eyes wide with excitement and fear. "We made it," he breathed, clutching a case containing the reverse-engineered personal shield generators. "Now we just need to get these to the surface." The transport's captain nodded grimly. "Hang on, kid. This is going to be a bumpy ride." The ship dove towards New Eden, weaving through the chaotic space battle. Energy beams and torpedoes crisscrossed their path as they pushed their engines to the limit. On the Cardassian side of the battle, Gul Dukat watched the unfolding chaos with growing frustration. "Where are those slave transports?" he demanded. "We need those human shields." His second-in-command shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, we've lost contact with several of the transports. It's possible Earth forces have—" Dukat silenced him with a glare. "Find them and prepare the assault shuttles. If we can't break their orbital defenses, we'll take the fight to the ground." Unknown to Dukat, Commander John Hawkins and his team had successfully infiltrated one of the Cardassian slave transports. Using Vulcan cloaking technology, they moved silently through the ship's corridors, freeing groups of terrified children. "Stay close and stay quiet," Hawkins whispered to the group. "We're going to get you out of here." As the battle raged on multiple fronts, the fate of New Eden hung in the balance. The Earth forces fought with purpose, their new technologies and strategies pushing back against the Cardassian onslaught. But Dukat's forces were vast, and the conflict was far from decided. In the command center beneath New Eden's surface, Governor Sloan watched the tactical displays with growing concern. The planetary shield was holding, but for how long? And if Dukat's forces made landfall? His thoughts were interrupted by a commotion at the entrance. Tommy burst in, breathless but triumphant, holding up the case of personal shield generators. "Governor Sloan," he panted, "we brought help." As Sloan moved to examine the devices, a tremor shook the command center. Above them, the first waves of Cardassian assault shuttles began their descent through New Eden's atmosphere, testing the limits of the planetary shield. The battle for New Eden was entering its most critical phase, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. The battle for New Eden was entering its most critical phase, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. As Cardassian assault shuttles began their descent through the planet's atmosphere, Admiral Sarah Chen made a decision that would alter the course of the conflict. "Bring Gul Rusot's ship in," she ordered, her voice steady despite the risk. "We need that intel." Within minutes, Rusot was escorted to the bridge of Chen's command ship. The Cardassian's eyes darted nervously around the room as he spoke. "Dukat plans to use the slave transports as a shield for his main assault force," Rusot explained, his words tumbling out rapidly. "He believes you won't fire on your own children." Chen's expression hardened. "He's underestimated us." She turned to her tactical officer. "Reconfigure our defensive formation. Priority 1 is isolating those slave ships." As Chen's orders rippled through the fleet, Commander John Hawkins and his team were already deep within the bowels of the first Cardassian slave transport. They moved like ghosts through the corridors, their Vulcan cloaking technology rendering them invisible to the enemy. Hawkins signaled his team to halt as they approached a guarded door. With practiced precision, they neutralized the guards using non-lethal takedowns. As the door slid open, Hawkins's breath caught in his throat. The hold was filled not only with human children, but also young from a dozen different species. Their eyes, wide with fear and hope, turned towards the doorway. "It's okay," Hawkins said softly, deactivating his cloak. "We're here to get you out." On the surface of New Eden, the situation was growing dire. Dr. James Reeves stared at the readouts from the planetary shield generator, his face pale with concern. "Governor," he called out to Sloan, "the shield's drawing too much power. We can't maintain full coverage." Sloan's teeth clenched as he made a rapid series of calculations. "Implement emergency power rationing. We'll have to leave some sectors exposed." As the shield flickered and contracted, Major Jake Stone's enhanced senses picked up the change immediately. He tapped his comm unit, his augmented vocal cords carrying his voice clearly to his team. "Phoenix Squad, we've got incoming. Predict and intercept." Stone's augmented brain processed the tactical data at incredible speed. He deployed his soldiers to the weakened sectors, anticipating the most likely landing zones for the Cardassian dropships. The first wave of enemy ships broke through the atmosphere, their hulls glowing red-hot from the entry. Stone's team engaged immediately, their newly acquired personal shield generators flaring to life as they returned fire. In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne stood on the bridge of the UES Avenger, his eyes fixed on the looming form of Dukat's flagship. "All hands, prepare for close-quarters engagement," Thorne announced. Weapons, target their command and control systems. The Avenger surged forward, its advanced weapon systems tearing through the Cardassian shields. Other Thunderbolt-class ships followed in its wake, punching a hole through the enemy formation. Back on the Cardassian slave transport, Hawkins faced a daunting challenge. The number of captives far exceeded their extraction capacity. "Sir," one of his team members reported, "we can't fit them all in our shuttle." Hawkins's mind raced. He glanced around the bridge they had just secured, an idea forming. "We're taking this ship," he declared. "Prep for immediate departure." As Hawkins's team began the evacuation process, a new ally arrived on New Eden. Tommy, his young face set with grit, rushed into the Colonial Command Center, clutching a case of personal shield generators. "We need to get these to the Defense Forces," Tommy explained breathlessly to the astonished engineers. Without hesitation, they began distributing and activating the devices among the civilian defenders, creating a network of shimmering energy fields across the colony's vulnerable areas. The battle took another unexpected turn as a second Cardassian warship broke ranks. Gul Marak's vessel moved to flank Rousseau's, both ships now providing covering fire for Earth's forces. Admiral Chen seized the moment. "All ships converge on Dukat's command vessel. Defiant and fearless, take point." The Earth fleet surged forward in a coordinated assault, capitalizing on the confusion in the Cardassian ranks. Chen's strategic gambit was paying off, but the battle was just getting started. On Cardassia Prime, Major Alex Donovan's covert team worked feverishly to exploit the chaos caused by news of the defections. They made contact with Gul Tekeni Gemor, the leader of the anti-slavery faction. "These access codes will disable the weapons and propulsion on several slave transports," Gamor explained, his voice low and urgent. Donovan's fingers flew over the console as he input the codes, watching with satisfaction as multiple blips on the tactical display went dark. As the conflict raged across multiple fronts, Colonel Jack Harper received an alarming transmission from the Zinthari. Their telepathic abilities had detected a massive Cardassian reinforcement fleet preparing to join the assault. Harper's face was grim as he contacted Admiral Chen. "Sarah, we've got incoming. A lot of incoming." Chen absorbed the news, her mind already formulating new strategies. The battle for New Eden had entered a new phase, with the stakes higher than ever. Earth's forces now faced not only the immediate threat of Dukat's fleet, but also the looming arrival of Cardassian reinforcements. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of the colony, but potentially the course of the entire war. Chen absorbed the news, her mind already formulating new strategies. The battle for New Eden had entered a new phase, with the stakes higher than ever. Earth's forces now faced not only the immediate threat of Dukat's fleet, but also the looming arrival of Cardassian reinforcements. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of the colony, but potentially the course of the entire conflict. "Captain Thorne," Chen's voice cut through the chaos on the bridge, "disengage from Dukat's command ship. Form a defensive line with the Defiant and Fearless at the edge of the system. We need to intercept those reinforcements." Thorne's acknowledgement crackled over the comm as the UES Avenger broke off its assault, engines flaring as it maneuvered into position. The Defiant and Fearless fell into formation, their sleek hulls gleaming against the backdrop of space. On the surface of New Eden, Major Jake Stone's enhanced senses picked up a new threat. A wave of unfamiliar mechs marched across the battlefield, their metal frames impervious to conventional weapons fire. "Phoenix Squad, fall back," Stone ordered, his augmented vocal cords carrying over the din of battle. These aren't standard Cardassian troops. As his team retreated to a defensive position, Stone's enhanced brain worked overtime, analyzing the droids' movements and attack patterns. He noticed a slight delay in their responses, a fraction of a second that could be exploited. "Dr. Reeves," Stone calmed the command center, "I need you to reconfigure our shield generators. These droids have an adaptive AI, but there's a weakness in their neural network. If we can emit the right electromagnetic pulse, we might be able to disrupt their systems." In orbit, Commander John Hawkins faced an unexpected dilemma. As his team secured the bridge of the captured slave transport, they stumbled upon a hidden compartment filled with advanced Cardassian weaponry. "Sir," one of his operatives reported, "these look like prototype weapons. Nothing we've seen before. Hawkins's eyes narrowed as he examined the sleek, unfamiliar designs. Load them up, he decided. We're taking them with us. Earth R&D will want to get their hands on these. Back on the colony's surface, Tommy worked feverishly alongside the engineers, his young mind racing with possibilities. If we integrate the personal shield generators into the colony's defense grid, he explained, fingers flying over a console, we can create localized force fields around key structures. Governor Eric Sloan watched the boy work, a mixture of pride and concern on his face. As another tremor shook the command center, he made a decision. Major Stone, Sloan calmed, his voice steady despite the chaos. I'm taking a group of civilian militia to defend the planetary shield generator. We'll use the personal shields. You and your team focus on those new Cardassian droids. In space, Gul Rusot's ship moved alongside Chen's command vessel. Admiral, the Cardassian's gravelly voice came through. There's a cloaked supply depot near the outer edge of the system. If you can capture it, you'll cut off Dukat's ground forces from their support. Chen's eyes lit up at the information. Lieutenant Commander Chen, she ordered, take a strike team and secure that depot. We need whatever tech and intel you can get your hands on. As David Chen's team prepared for their mission, Colonel Jack Harper received an urgent transmission from Cardassia Prime. Major Alex Donovan's face appeared on the screen, his expression a mixture of excitement and caution. Colonel, we've made contact with a group of Cardassian scientists, Donovan reported. They've given us information about a vulnerability in the Cardassian fleet's shield harmonics. If we can exploit it, we might be able to disable multiple ships at once. Harper's mind raced with the implications. Excellent work, Major. I'm forwarding this to Admiral Chen immediately. As Chen received the new intelligence, her eyes fell on the UES Fearless. The ship had recently been fitted with an experimental weapon, the hypersonic resonance cannon. It was untested in battle, but if Donovan's information was correct, it might be their best chance against the incoming reinforcements. Captain Thorne, Chen calmed, her voice tight with tension. Prep the hypersonic resonance cannon on the Fearless. We're going to exploit this Cardassian shield vulnerability. As Earth forces scrambled to implement their new strategies, Gul Dukat watched from the bridge of his flagship, his face twisted with rage. His plan was unraveling, and he knew it. Move all remaining slave transports to the front lines, he snarled at his second-in-command. If the humans want their precious children back, they'll have to go through them to get to us. The order sent shockwaves through the Earth fleet. Admiral Chen stared at the tactical display, watching as the blips representing the slave ships moved into formation ahead of the Cardassian battlecruisers. Damn you, Dukat, she muttered, her fists clenching at her sides. The hypersonic resonance cannon was their best hope of turning the tide, but firing it now could result in massive casualties among the very children they were trying to save. As the battle raged across space and on the surface of New Eden, the fate of the colony hung in the balance. Earth forces found themselves facing challenges on multiple fronts. The adaptive droid army on the ground, the incoming Cardassian reinforcements in space, and now the horrific use of child hostages as shields. Major Stone and his augmented soldiers prepared to engage the Cardassian droids with their reconfigured shields. Commander Hawkins raced back to Earth lines with his precious cargo of rescued children and captured Cardassian prototypes. And in orbit, Admiral Chen faced the most difficult decision of her career, weighing the potential to end the battle against the lives of innocent children. The next move would be critical. The future of New Eden, and perhaps the entire war, depended on the choices made in the coming moments. As Chen absorbed the gravity of Dukat's ruthless tactic, her eyes narrowed with tenacity. She couldn't let the Cardassians' cruel gambit succeed. With a swift series of commands, she set her daring plan into motion. Captain Thorne, reposition the Fearless. We're going to thread the needle, Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the tension. Aim the hypersonic resonance cannon at coordinates 227 Mark 038. We'll hit them where they least expect it. Thorne's acknowledgement came through crisp and clear. The Fearless maneuvered into position, its experimental weapon powering up with a low hum that seemed to vibrate through the very fabric of space. On the surface of New Eden, Major Jake Stone led his Phoenix squad towards the advancing line of Cardassian battle droids. The reconfigured personal shield generators hummed with energy, ready to emit the electromagnetic pulses that would disrupt the droid's neural networks. On my mark, Stone's augmented voice carried across the battlefield. 3, 2, 1, now! A wave of invisible energy pulsed outward from the Earth forces. The effect on the Cardassian droids was immediate and dramatic. The machines stumbled, their movements becoming erratic and uncoordinated. Stone's team pressed their advantage, pushing forward with precision and speed. In orbit, Commander John Hawkins gripped the controls of the captured slave transport, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Prepare to fire," he ordered his makeshift crew. "Target the propulsion systems of the nearest slave ships. We need to immobilize them without harming the children inside." The prototype weapons they'd discovered hummed to life, emitting beams of energy that struck the targeted ships with surgical precision. One by one, the slave transport's engines flickered and died, leaving them adrift in space. As Earth forces engaged the Cardassian fleet, the UES Fearless unleashed its secret weapon. The hypersonic resonance cannon fired, its energy beams splitting into multiple harmonic waves. The effect was devastating. Cardassian shields collapsed across the battlefield, leaving dozens of warships exposed and vulnerable. Aboard his flagship, Gul Dukat's face contorted with rage as reports of shield failures flooded in. "Impossible," he snarled, smacking his head on the command console. "Concentrate all fire on the colony's shield generator. We'll leave them defenseless." But even as Dukat gave the order, Captain Thorne seized the opportunity presented by the Cardassian leader's high-stakes endeavor. The UES Avenger surged forward, its weapon systems locking onto Dukat's now vulnerable ship. "Fire!" Thorne commanded, his voice sharp with intensity. A barrage of advanced torpedoes streaked across space, striking Dukat's flagship with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions bloomed across the Cardassian vessel's hull, leaving it crippled and adrift. On New Eden's surface, Tommy worked feverishly alongside the colonial engineers, his young mind racing with possibilities. "Just a few more adjustments," he muttered, fingers flying over the control panel. "There!" With a surge of energy, the integrated personal shield generators came online, creating a patchwork of localized force fields around key structures. The planetary shield generator, now protected by multiple layers of defense, stood firm against the Cardassian assault. As the tide of battle turned decisively in Earth's favor, Admiral Chen's focus shifted to rescue operations. "Commander Hawkins, begin evacuating the children from the disabled transports," she ordered. "Priority 1 is getting those kids to safety." Hawkins acknowledged the order, coordinating with the other Earth ships to begin the delicate process of rescuing the enslaved children. Shuttles zipped between the immobilized slave ships and the Earth vessels, ferrying groups of stunned but hopeful young prisoners to freedom. Just as victory seemed within reach, a chilling report came through from the long-range sensors. Lieutenant Commander David Chen's voice crackled over the comm, tight with urgency. "Admiral, we're detecting a massive energy signature entering the system. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Chen's blood ran cold as she processed the implications. A Cardassian superweapon, previously unknown to Earth intelligence, had arrived. The massive vessel loomed at the edge of the system, its very presence seeming to distort the space around it. "All ships, defensive formation Delta," Chen commanded, her mind racing to formulate a strategy against this new threat. "Prepare to consolidate our forces. We need to protect the colony and those transports at all costs." As Earth forces scrambled to regroup, the Cardassian superweapon began to power up, its energy readings spiking off the charts. The battle for New Eden had entered its most critical phase, with the fate of the colony, the rescued children, and perhaps the entire war hanging in the balance. Chen stared at the tactical display, watching as the monstrous ship approached. She knew that the next few moments would determine everything. With a deep breath, she opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is Admiral Chen. We've come too far to falter now. Prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're going to take that thing down." "Down." Chen's voice rang out across the fleet, her purpose palpable even through the comm system. "All ships, execute emergency maneuver Omega-3. Fearless, reposition for a potential strike against that monstrosity." As the Earth vessels scrambled to comply, the massive Cardassian superweapon loomed ever closer, its presence distorting the very fabric of space around it. Chen's mind raced, analyzing every scrap of data streaming in from her sensors. "Admiral," Lieutenant Commander David Chen's voice crackled through the comm, "we're detecting an enormous energy buildup in the superweapon's main cannon. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Chen's mind focused. "Understood, Commander. Stand by for further orders." She opened a secure channel to the surface of New Eden. "Major Stone, this is Admiral Chen. I need your team to infiltrate the main Cardassian command post on the ground. We need any intel they might have on this superweapon, and we need it now." "Copy that, Admiral," Stone replied, his augmented voice steady despite the chaos around him. "We're moving out immediately." On the planet's surface, Stone signaled to his Phoenix squad. The augmented soldiers moved with inhuman speed and precision, their reconfigured shields humming with energy as they approached the Cardassian command post. "Remember," Stone said as they neared their target, "we're looking for any information on that new ship. Data storage, computer terminals, even physical documents. Anything that might give us an edge." The squad breached the command post's defenses with surgical precision, their enhanced abilities making short work of the remaining Cardassian resistance. As they secured the facility, Stone's eyes fell on a heavily encrypted terminal. "This looks promising," he muttered, his augmented brain interfacing directly with the alien technology. "Admiral, we've found something. Transmitting data now." In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne of the UES Avenger coordinated with the defecting Cardassian ships under Gul Rousseau and Gul Marak. "Form up on me," he ordered, his voice tense but controlled. "We need to create a defensive screen around those disabled transports. Hawkins is still evacuating civilians." The unlikely alliance of Earth and Cardassian ships moved into position, their weapons trained on the approaching superweapon. Thorne knew they were buying time, but against such overwhelming firepower, he wasn't sure how long they could hold out. Aboard the UES Fearless, Captain Thorne watched as the hypersonic resonance cannon powered up once again. "Engineering, I need every ounce of power you can give me," he barked into the comm. "We might only get one shot at this." As tension mounted across the battlefield, Admiral Chen received an urgent transmission from Cardassia Prime. Major Alex Donovan's face appeared on her screen, his expression a mix of excitement and urgency. "Admiral, we've managed to access classified Cardassian military archives," Donovan reported. "We've uncovered crucial details about the superweapon's power source and potential weaknesses. Transmitting data now." Chen's eyes widened as she absorbed the information. "Excellent work, Major. This could be the key we need." On New Eden, Dr. James Reeves and Tommy worked feverishly at the colony's main power distribution center. "If we can just reroute the power from the secondary grid," Tommy muttered, his young fingers flying over the control panel. Reeves nodded, his face etched with concentration. "It's risky, but it might just work. Governor Sloan, we need your authorization to divert power from non-essential systems." Governor Eric Sloan's voice came through, tight with tension. "Do whatever you need to do, Doctor. Just keep our people safe." As the experimental planetary shield flickered to life around New Eden, Admiral Chen made her decision. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Prepare for coordinated assault on the Cardassian superweapon." She turned to her tactical officer. "Deploy the captured Cardassian prototypes from Hawkins's transport. Coordinate their fire with the Fearless's hypersonic resonance cannon." Chen opened a channel to Lieutenant Commander David Chen. "Commander, I have a high-risk mission for you. Take a team and use a captured Cardassian shuttle to approach the superweapon. You'll be carrying the most powerful of the prototype weapons we've acquired." "Understood, Admiral," David replied, his voice steady despite the gravity of the mission. "We'll make it count." As David's team prepared for their perilous approach, Major Stone's voice came through the comm. "Admiral, we've found schematics of the superweapon. There's a critical vulnerability in its power distribution system. Transmitting data now." Chen quickly relayed the information to David's strike team. "This is it, people," she announced to the fleet. "Fearless, fire the hypersonic resonance cannon on my mark. Captain Thorne, lead the Avenger and our Cardassian allies in a frontal assault to draw their fire. As the Earth forces moved into position, the Cardassian superweapon's main cannon reached full charge. Energy crackled around its massive frame, distorting the space around it. "Now!" Chen ordered. The Fearless fired its hypersonic resonance cannon, the beam splitting into multiple harmonic waves that battered against the superweapon's shields. Simultaneously, Thorn led the Avenger and the allied Cardassian ships in a daring attack run, their weapons blazing. Taking advantage of the chaos, David Chen's strike team approached the superweapon in their captured shuttle. "We're in position," David reported, his voice tense. "Firing prototype weapons now." The shuttle launched its payload, the advanced Cardassian weapons streaking towards the vulnerable point in the superweapon's power system. As they impacted, the massive vessel shuddered, energy discharges rippling across its hull. On New Eden, the experimental planetary shield sprang to life just as the Cardassian superweapon fired its main cannon. The energy beam struck the shield, which flickered and strained under the immense power. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with nervous excitement, knowing that the next few moments would determine the fate of New Eden, and potentially the entire course of the war. The superweapon's beam continued to batter against the planetary shield, while Earth's desperate counterattack unfolded against the backdrop of the cosmos. Vast battlefield of space. The instant the superweapon fired, the experimental planetary shield around New Eden flickered to life. A blinding beam of energy streaked across the void, slamming into the newly formed barrier with earth-shattering force. The entire star system lit up as if a new sun had been born, the collision between unstoppable force and immovable object creating a spectacle visible for light years. On the surface of New Eden, Tommy gripped Dr. Reeves's arm tightly, his young eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. "Did it work?" he whispered, barely daring to breathe. Reeves stared at the readouts, his face bathed in the glow of emergency lighting. "It's holding," he muttered, disbelief evident in his voice. "By God, it's actually holding." The shield strained under the incredible assault, fluctuating wildly as it fought to disperse the enormous energy of the superweapon's attack. For several agonizing seconds, it seemed as if it might collapse at any moment. But the ingenious fusion of Earth and reverse-engineered Cardassian technology proved its worth. The planetary shield held firm, deflecting the devastating blast away from the vulnerable colony below. In orbit, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with held breath. As the superweapon's attack dissipated harmlessly into space, a fierce smile spread across her face. "Now's our chance," she barked. "All ships, press the attack." Lieutenant Commander David Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Admiral, we're in position. Commencing our run now." David's captured Cardassian shuttle streaked towards the massive superweapon, taking advantage of the confusion caused by the failed planetary assault. Inside the cramped cockpit, David's hand hovered over the weapon's controls, his eyes locked on the targeting computer. "There," his weapons officer called out, highlighting a specific point on the display. "That's our weak spot." David nodded grimly. "Firing prototype weapons. Now." The shuttle shuddered as it launched its payload, the advanced Cardassian weapons streaking towards their target with unerring precision. They struck home with devastating effect, breaching the superweapon's outer defenses and burrowing deep into its power distribution system. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with terrifying suddenness, explosions began to bloom across the massive ship's hull. Arcs of uncontrolled energy lashed out into space as the superweapon's main cannon started to overload. "All ships, immediate withdrawal." Admiral Chen's voice rang out across the fleet. "Get clear of that thing now." The UES Fearless, still reeling from its recent firing of the hypersonic resonance cannon, engaged its emergency thrusters. Captain Thorne gritted his teeth as the ship groaned under the strain, barely managing to clear the expanding sphere of destruction. Moments later, the Cardassian superweapon detonated in a cataclysmic explosion that dwarfed anything seen before in the war. The shockwave rippled outward, tearing through the remaining Cardassian fleet seamlessly. Earthships and their allies weathered the storm, their advanced shields glowing white-hot as they deflected the worst of the blast. As the debris field slowly began to disperse, The true scale of their victory became apparent. The superweapon was gone, reduced to scattered atoms and twisted fragments of hull plating. What remained of the Cardassian fleet drifted aimlessly, their ships damaged or disabled by the massive explosion. "Status report," Chen demanded, her eyes scanning the tactical display for any remaining threats. "The Cardassian fleet is in full retreat, Admiral," her tactical officer reported. "Multiple ships are signaling their surrender or intent to defect." Chen nodded sharply. "Captain Thorne, take the Avenger and oversee the surrender and disarmament of those vessels. Commander Hawkins, I want those slave transports evacuated yesterday. Get those children to safety." As her orders were carried out, Chen opened a channel to the surface. "Governor Sloan, what's your status down there?" Eric Sloan's voice came through, tight with impossibly strong emotion. "We're all right, Admiral," the shield held. "I can hardly believe it, but we're still here." "Glad to hear it, Governor," Chen replied. "Major Stone, I need your team to begin securing any remaining Cardassian ground forces. I want every scrap of their technology and intelligence locked down." "Understood, Admiral," Stone's augmented voice responded. "We're already moving out." On the planet's surface, Tommy and Dr. Reeves worked feverishly to stabilize the experimental shield system. The young prodigy's fingers flew over the controls, making minute adjustments with preternatural speed and accuracy. "We did it," Tommy breathed, a grin spreading across his face. "We actually did it." Reeves clapped him on the shoulder, his own expression a mix of pride and relief. "We sure did, son. And I have a feeling this is just the beginning." As the immediate crisis passed, the true magnitude of their accomplishment began to sink in. They had not only repelled a Cardassian invasion, but had also destroyed a superweapon that could have turned the tide of the war. The experimental planetary shield had proved its worth, promising a new era of defensive capabilities for Earth and its colonies. But even as they celebrated their victory, new challenges loomed on the horizon. The logistical nightmare of dealing with Cardassian prisoners, caring for the rescued children, and securing valuable enemy assets was just beginning. And in the halls of power on Earth, leaders were already grappling with the strategic implications of their success. Admiral Chen knew that the decisions made in the coming hours and days would shape the course of the war and potentially the future of human expansion in the galaxy. As she prepared to contact Earth Central Command, she allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction. They had won the day in a seemingly impossible way. Now, the real work began. Admiral Chen wasted no time capitalizing on their hard-fought victory. As the debris from the destroyed Cardassian superweapon continued to drift through space, she issued a rapid-fire series of orders, her voice sharp and decisive. "Major Stone, commence planetary sweep, secure all Cardassian prisoners, and gather every scrap of intel you can find. Leave no stone unturned." "Understood, Admiral," Stone's augmented voice crackled through the comm. "We're moving out now." On the surface of New Eden, Stone and his Phoenix soldiers fanned out across the planet's terrain. They moved with inhuman speed and precision, their augmented bodies allowing them to cover vast distances in record time. As they swept through abandoned Cardassian outposts and makeshift bases, they encountered scattered pockets of resistance from enemy stragglers. In the northern polar region, Stone's team stumbled upon something unexpected. A hidden entrance concealed beneath the ice led to a vast underground complex. As they breached the facility's security systems, Stone's eyes widened behind his visor. "Admiral," he reported, his voice tight with impossibly strong anger, "we've found a Cardassian research facility. It's not good. Genetic engineering equipment, data files on the child enslavement program. The extent of their atrocities, it's worse than we imagined." Chen's teeth clenched as she processed the information. "Secure everything, Major. Every piece of evidence, every scrap of data. We'll make them answer for this." In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne of the UES Avenger faced a different kind of challenge. As his teams boarded the surrendered Cardassian vessels, they encountered unexpected resistance. "Admiral," Thorne's voice came through, punctuated by the sound of weapons fire. "We've got a situation here. A group of Cardassian officers are refusing to stand down. They've barricaded themselves in the engine room of one of their cruisers." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Handle it, Captain. We can't afford to let this spiral out of control. Thorne nodded grimly, signaling to his boarding team. They moved through the alien corridors of the Cardassian ship, their footsteps echoing in the metallic passageways. As they approached the engine room, a burst of disruptor fire forced them to take cover. "This is your final warning," Thorne called out, his voice amplified by his suit's speakers. "Surrender now, or we will be forced to take action." The only response was another volley of disruptor fire. Thorne signaled to his team, and they moved with practiced efficiency. Stun grenades rolled into the engine room, followed by a swift and brutal close-quarters assault. In a matter of minutes, the last pocket of resistance was subdued. As the immediate threat was neutralized, a new challenge emerged. Commander John Hawkins's voice came through the comm, strained with the weight of his task. "Admiral, we're struggling to keep up with the influx of rescued children. We need more medical ships, more personnel. Some of these kids are in bad shape." Chen didn't hesitate. "Understood, Commander. I'm requisitioning additional resources from nearby colonies. Do what you can with what you have for now. These children are our top priority." On the surface of New Eden, Dr. James Reeves and Tommy worked feverishly to analyze the captured Cardassian technology. The young prodigy's fingers flew over holographic displays, his mind processing complex data streams with astonishing speed. "Dr. Reeves," Tommy called out, excitement evident in his voice. "I think I've found something. The weapons we used against the superweapon, I think we can replicate them, maybe even improve them." Reeves hurried over, his eyes widening as he saw Tommy's findings. "My God," he whispered. "This could change everything. We need to get this data to Earth immediately." As Earth's forces consolidated their position around New Eden, long-range sensors picked up an anomalous reading. Lieutenant Sarah Harding, the Fearless's sensor officer, frowned at her display. "Admiral," she reported, her voice tinged with concern, "we're detecting unusual energy signatures deep in Cardassian space. The patterns, they're similar to the superweapon we just destroyed." Chen's expression hardened. They had won a significant victory, but the war was not nearly finished. New threats loomed on the horizon, and the fate of countless enslaved children still hung in the balance. As she prepared to brief Earth Central Command on this latest development, Chen knew that the decisions made in the coming days would shape the course of the conflict and potentially the future of humanity in the galaxy. "Understood, Lieutenant," Chen replied, her mind already racing with potential strategies. "Keep monitoring those signatures. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with." She opened a channel to Earth, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "This is Admiral Chen to Earth Central Command. We've secured New Eden, but our long-range sensors have detected something that requires immediate attention." "Attention?" Chen paused, her eyes narrowing as she processed the incoming data. "We may have a new situation developing." Before she could elaborate further, her communication officer interrupted urgently. "Admiral, we're receiving a distress signal from Epsilon Eridani the First. It's under attack by Cardassian forces." Chen's mind focused. This was a complication they couldn't afford, but one they couldn't ignore. She turned to her tactical display, fingers dancing across the holographic interface as she assessed their options. "Captain Thorne," she barked into the comm, "I need you and the Avenger to lead a response force to Epsilon Eridani the Fourth immediately. Take the Intrepid and the Valiant with you. Defend that colony at all costs." "Understood, Admiral," Thorne replied, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We're moving out now." As Thorne's small fleet disengaged from the New Eden system, Chen turned her attention back to the planet's surface. "Major Stone, what's your status on securing that Cardassian research facility?" Stone's augmented voice came through, tinged with a mixture of disgust and purpose. "Admiral, we've made a disturbing discovery. The Cardassians weren't just enslaving children, they were using them as test subjects for genetic engineering experiments. They're trying to create some kind of enhanced soldiers." Chen's blood ran cold. The implications were staggering, both tactically and ethically. "Secure all the data you can find, Major. We need to know everything about this program." As Stone's team continued their investigation, Chen made a series of rapid decisions. She opened a secure channel to Earth. "This is Admiral Chen to Earth Central Command. I'm requesting authorization to form a specialized strike team. We need to hit every Cardassian research facility we can find, shut down these experiments, and rescue any children we can. While waiting for a response, Chen turned to her communications officer. Get me Colonel Alex Donovan. I want him to lead this strike team. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Avenger, Captain Michael Thorne stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the tactical display as his small fleet raced towards Epsilon Eridani IV. The colony's distress signal grew stronger as they approached, punctuated by bursts of static and panicked voices. Captain, his sensor officer called out, I'm picking up multiple Cardassian signatures in orbit around the planet. It's a much larger force than we anticipated. Thorne's mind raced, analyzing the situation. This was more than a simple raid. It had all the hallmarks of a full-scale invasion. Helm, bring us out of warp behind Epsilon Eridani IV's largest moon. We'll use it for cover while we assess the situation. As the Avenger and its accompanying ships dropped out of warp, the true scale of the Cardassian assault became apparent. Dozens of enemy ships hung in orbit, their weapons raining destruction on the helpless colony below. Thorne opened a channel to his small fleet. This is Captain Thorne. We're heavily outnumbered, but that colony is counting on us. Intrepid, I want you to focus on taking out their orbital bombardment platforms. Valiant, you're with me. We're going to punch a hole through their lines and give our ground forces a chance to land. As Thorne's fleet engaged the Cardassians, the battle for Epsilon Eridani IV began in earnest. The space above the planet lit up with weapons fire, shields flaring as ships on both sides took hits. Back on New Eden, Tommy burst into Dr. Reeves's makeshift lab, his eyes wide with excitement. Dr. Reeves, I've done it! I've managed to miniaturize the planetary shield technology. We could adapt this for starships. Reeves looked up from his work, his expression a mixture of surprise and hope. Show me everything, Tommy. This could change the entire course of the war. As Tommy began explaining his breakthrough, Admiral Chen received a priority communication from Earth. President Marcus Harding's face appeared on her screen, his expression grave. Admiral Chen, your request for a specialized strike team is approved. Moreover, we're expanding Project Phoenix. Dr. James Reeves will be leading the initiative to create more augmented soldiers like Major Stone. We need every advantage we can get in this fight. Chen nodded, her mind already racing with the possibilities. Thank you, Mr. President. We'll make every resource count. As she ended the call, Chen's tactical officer spoke up. Admiral, long-range sensors are picking up a massive buildup of Cardassian forces near the Deneb sector. It looks like they're preparing for a major counteroffensive. Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the incoming data. The war was escalating on multiple fronts, and Earth's forces were stretched thin. She took a deep breath, steadying herself for the difficult decisions ahead. Alert all commands, she ordered, her voice firm. We need to accelerate the construction of Fortress Liberty in this system and begin planning for a preemptive strike against that Cardassian buildup. We can't afford to let them gain the initiative. As her orders were relayed across the fleet, Chen turned her gaze back to the tactical display. The battle for Epsilon Eridani IV raged on, while new threats loomed on the horizon. The war against the Cardassian Empire had entered a new, more dangerous phase, and the fate of countless lives hung in the balance. Balance. The war against the Cardassian Empire had entered a new, more dangerous phase, and the fate of countless lives hung in the balance. Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. The situation demanded swift, decisive action. She opened a channel to her fleet commanders. This is Admiral Chen. We're implementing Operation Thunderbolt. Captain Thorne, maintain your defense of Epsilon Eridani IV. All other available ships, prepare for immediate deployment to the Deneb sector. As her orders echoed across the comm channels, Chen turned to her second-in-command. Commander, get me the UES Valiant. It's time to put our new Thunderbolt-class battlecruiser to the test. In orbit around Epsilon Eridani IV, Captain Michael Thorne gritted his teeth as another volley of Cardassian weapons fire battered his shields. The space around the planet was a chaotic mess of energy beams, explosions, and debris. Tactical status report, Thorne barked. His tactical officer responded, voice tight with tension. Shields at 47%, Captain. The Intrepid's taken heavy damage, and the Valiant's struggling to maintain formation. Thorne's mind raced, seeking a solution. Suddenly, his comm officer interrupted. Captain, incoming transmission from New Eden. It's Dr. Reeves and Tommy. Tommy's excited voice filled the bridge. Captain Thorne, we've adapted the planetary shield technology for starships. Transmitting specifications now. Thorne's eyes widened as he scanned the incoming data. Engineering, implement these modifications immediately. Relay the specs to the Intrepid and Valiant. As his crew scrambled to integrate the new technology, Thorne opened a channel to his small fleet. All ships prepare to form a layered defense grid around the colony. We're going to create a shield web they can't penetrate. The effect was almost immediate. As the Earth ships maneuvered into position, their newly modified shields linked together, creating a formidable barrier. Cardassian weapons fire splashed harmlessly against the reinforced defense. On the planet's surface, Major Jake Stone led his team through the ruins of a Cardassian outpost. The augmented soldiers moved with inhuman speed and precision, their enhanced senses alert for any sign of enemy activity. Major, one of his soldiers called out, I'm picking up unusual energy readings from beneath that structure. Stone signaled his team to take up defensive positions as he approached the building. Using his augmented strength, he tore away a section of flooring, revealing a hidden entrance. Looks like we've found something interesting, Stone muttered. Team, prepare for subterranean insertion. As Stone's team descended into the hidden facility, they encountered scattered Cardassian resistance. The firefight was brief and one-sided, the augmented soldiers making short work of their opponents. In the heart of the facility, Stone's eyes widened as he took in the array of advanced communication equipment. Command, this is Major Stone. We've uncovered a Cardassian comm center. Uploading data now. Back on the Fearless, Admiral Chen received Stone's transmission with a grim smile. Excellent work, Major. This could be the breakthrough we need. She turned to her intelligence officer. Get our best cryptographers on this immediately. I want to know every word the Cardassians are saying. In deep space, the newly completed UES Valiant dropped out of warp at the head of a formidable Earth fleet. Its captain, a seasoned veteran named Alexei Volkov, surveyed the tactical display with a resolute expression. Sensors, what are we dealing with? Volkov asked. His sensor officer's voice was tense. Multiple Cardassian signatures, sir. They're scrambling to respond to our arrival. Volkov nodded, a predatory smile crossing his face. They weren't expecting us. Good. All ships, battle formation Delta. Weapons free. Let's show them what this new ship can do. The space around the Cardassian staging area erupted into chaos as Earth's fleet engaged. The UES Valiant led the charge, its advanced weapon systems tearing through Cardassian shields with ease. As the battle raged, Colonel Alex Donovan's strike team infiltrated a heavily guarded Cardassian research facility on Cardassia III. Moving silently through the shadows, they neutralized guards and bypassed security systems with practiced efficiency. In the facility's main lab, Donovan's blood ran cold as he took in the sight before him. Rows of stasis pods lined the walls, each containing the small form of a child. My God, Donovan whispered, his voice thick with horror and rage. What have they done? His second-in-command approached, a datapad in hand. Sir, I've downloaded their research files. It's worse than we imagined. They're not just experimenting on these kids. They're trying to create some kind of super soldiers. Donovan's eyebrows furrowed. He knew what had to be done. Download everything you can. We're taking these kids with us, and then we're blowing this place to hell. As Donovan's team worked to rescue the children and plant explosives, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. They had been discovered. Move! Move! Donovan shouted, leading a group of disoriented, newly freed children towards their extraction point. Behind them, the facility erupted into flames, erasing the evidence of Cardassian atrocities. On Earth, Dr. James Reeves stood before a group of newly augmented soldiers, their eyes sharp with enhanced intelligence and bodies thrumming with augmented power. You are the future of Earth's defense, Reeves declared. Your first deployment will be to support ongoing operations against the Cardassian Empire. Remember your training, remember your humanity, and make us proud. As the augmented soldiers prepared for deployment, a transmission came through from Admiral Chen. Dr. Reeves, we need your team ready for immediate action. We've detected a massive energy surge in Cardassian space. Intelligence suggests it could be a weapon capable of destroying entire star systems. Reeves' face paled as he processed the information. He turned to his lead researcher. Prepare the Phoenix team for emergency deployment. We may be facing our greatest challenge yet. In the depths of Cardassian space, Rear Admiral David Chen's task force approached the ancient alien artifact, its massive form looming against the backdrop of stars. Sir, his science officer reported, we're detecting incredible energy readings from the artifact. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. David Chen leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the mysterious structure. This could be it, he murmured, the key to ending this war once and for all. As Earth's forces prepared to face the Cardassians' ultimate weapon, the fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance. The next move would determine the future of humanity and countless other species across the stars. As Earth's forces prepared to face the Cardassians' ultimate weapon, Admiral Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the secure channel, reaching every ship and outpost in the Earth Alliance. All units, this is Admiral Chen. Initiate Operation Thunderstrike. I repeat, Operation Thunderstrike is a go. The command set in motion a flurry of activity across Earth's fleet. Stealth ships, their hulls gleaming with the newly integrated Atarian cloaking technology, slipped silently into Cardassian space. Their mission, to penetrate deep into enemy territory and gather crucial intelligence on the superweapons defenses. On board the UES Valiant, Captain Alexei Volkov received his new orders. His ship, along with a task force of Earth's most advanced vessels, was to provide cover for Rear Admiral David Chen's mission to deploy the ancient alien artifact. Helm, set course for the rendezvous point, Volkov commanded. We need to reach Task Force Vanguard before the Cardassians realize what we're up to. As the Valiant and its escorts surged forward, the artifact loomed larger on their view screens. Its enigmatic structure pulsed with an otherworldly energy that seemed to ripple through space itself. Rear Admiral David Chen stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Prometheus, his eyes fixed on the artifact. Status report on the dampening field? His chief scientist responded, fingers flying over a console. Final calibrations complete, sir. The artifact is ready to generate the field on your command. Chen nodded, his expression grim. Let's hope this works. The fate of countless worlds depends on it. Meanwhile, on New Eden, Major Jake Stone and his team of augmented soldiers moved with inhuman speed through the underground Cardassian base. They had tracked an unusual energy signature to this location, and what they found exceeded their wildest expectations. Command, this is Stone, he reported, his voice low and urgent. We've located a quantum entanglement communication device. This could change everything. Admiral Chen's response was immediate. Secure that device, Major. We need it operational and integrated into our command network ASAP. As Stone's team worked to extract the device, Captain Michael Thorne's fleet approached its target. The Epsilon Eridani system was now secure, thanks to their efforts, but new challenges lay ahead. All ships, this is Captain Thorne, he announced, his voice steady despite the tension. Our mission is to draw Cardassian forces away from the primary target. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and keep them occupied. Thorne's fleet dropped out of warp near a key Cardassian military installation. The miniaturized shield technology developed by Tommy sprang to life, enveloping the Earthships in a protective bubble. Fire at will, Thorne ordered. The space around them erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire. Earthships darted and weaved through the Cardassian defenses, their enhanced shields allowing them to weather the storm of return fire. Across Cardassian space, other operations were unfolding. Colonel Alex Donovan led his strike team through the shadows of a massive slave labor camp. The intelligence provided by the defecting Gul Ravek had proven invaluable, allowing them to bypass security measures with ease. Team 2, status? Donovan whispered into his comm. Charges set, Colonel. We're ready to blow this place sky high on your command. Donovan nodded, his eyes scanning the rows of emaciated prisoners. Many were human children, their eyes hollow with despair. Begin the evacuation. Let's get these people to safety. As Donovan's team worked to free the prisoners, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. They had been discovered. Move! Move! Donovan shouted, leading a group of disoriented, newly freed prisoners towards their extraction point. Behind them, explosions rocked the camp, destroying the infrastructure that had kept so many in chains. On Earth, Dr. James Reeves addressed the latest batch of augmented soldiers from Project Phoenix. Their eyes gleamed with enhanced intelligence, their bodies practically humming with augmented power. You are the pinnacle of human achievement, Reeves declared. But remember, it's not your augmentations that make you special. It's your humanity. Now go, make Earth proud. As the augmented soldiers boarded their transports, reports began flooding in from across Cardassian space. The Operation Fracture, orchestrated by Colonel Jack Harper of the United Earth Intelligence Agency, had borne fruit. Cardassian dissident groups, emboldened by Earth's successes, launched coordinated uprisings on multiple worlds. The Galactic Covenant, the alliance announced by President Marcus Harding, began to make its presence felt. Ships from various alien races, including the Atarians and Zinthari, joined Earth's fleet for the final push against the Cardassian doomsday device. As Operation Thunderstrike unfolded, Admiral Chen received an urgent communication. Admiral, we've detected a massive Cardassian battle group emerging from the Tychus Nebula. They're on an intercept course with Task Force Vanguard. Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. This unknown force, led by the fanatical Gul Madred, threatened to derail the entire operation. Divert Captain Thorne's fleet to intercept, Chen ordered, and get me a direct line to Rear Admiral Chen. We need to accelerate the timetable. As Earth forces raced towards their primary target, long-range sensors detected an ominous energy buildup. The Cardassian doomsday device had begun its activation sequence. In the heart of Cardassian space, aboard the massive structure housing the superweapon, a group of scientists led by Dr. Krell Mose worked feverishly. Their hands shook as they input complex codes, trying to create a vulnerability in the weapon's defenses. We can't let them use this, Mose muttered, his eyes wild with fear and grit. The devastation, it's unthinkable. Suddenly, the doors to the control room burst open. A squad of Cardassian soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Step away from the consoles, their leader barked. By order of the Central Command, you are all under arrest for treason. Mose's hand hovered over the final command key, his mind racing. The fate of entire star systems hung in the balance, and time was running out. As Operation Thunderstrike reached its climax, Admiral Chen faced the most critical moment of her career. The coordinated assault on the Cardassian superweapon had begun, but unforeseen complications threatened to unravel their carefully laid plans. With the doomsday device on the verge of activation, Chen knew that the next few moments would determine not just the outcome of the war, but the fate of countless lives across the galaxy. Galaxy. Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the tactical display. The Cardassian doomsday device loomed ominously at the center, surrounded by a swarm of enemy ships. Earth's fleet, bolstered by their allies from the Galactic Covenant, formed a formidable armada on the outskirts of the Cardassian system. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, she broadcast across the secure channel. Commence Operation Thunderstrike. Vanguard Task Force, you have clearance to proceed. May fortune favor the bold. The space around Cardassia Prime erupted into chaos as thousands of ships engaged in a fierce firefight. Energy beams lanced across the void, while swarms of fighters danced between capital ships. The night sky of Cardassia Prime lit up with the fury of battle, casting an eerie glow on the planet below. Rear Admiral David Chen, aboard the UES Prometheus, led Task Force Vanguard toward their objective. The ancient alien artifact pulsed with energy, its strange architecture a stark contrast to the sleek Earth vessels surrounding it. Status on the artifact? David asked, his voice tense. Energy levels are stable, sir, his science officer reported. The dampening field is ready to deploy on your command. As they pushed deeper into Cardassian space, the artifact sprang to life. A wave of energy rippled outward, washing over nearby Cardassian ships. Their lights flickered and died, leaving them adrift in space. "It's working," David exclaimed. "Push forward, full speed." On the surface of Cardassia Prime, Major Jake Stone and his team of augmented soldiers fought their way through the streets surrounding the Doomsday Devices control center. Enhanced muscles and reflexes allowed them to move with inhuman speed and precision. "Contact 12 o'clock, Stone shouted, diving for cover as plasma bolts seared the air around him. A squad of Cardassian troops in experimental battlesuits rounded the corner, their armor gleaming in the harsh light. Stone's team engaged them in close-quarters combat, their augmented strength matching the Cardassians' advanced technology. Stone grappled with one of the suited Cardassians, feeling the servos in the suit strain against his enhanced muscles. With a grunt of effort, he managed to overpower his opponent, slamming him into a nearby wall. "Team, push forward," Stone ordered, leading the charge toward the control center's entrance. In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne's diversionary attack was wreaking havoc on Cardassian military installations. The UES Valiant, protected by its miniaturized shield technology, darted between Cardassian cruisers, its weapons tearing through their defenses. "Target those shipyards," Thorne commanded. "We need to keep their reinforcements grounded." The Valiant's main guns opened fire, reducing a half-constructed Cardassian warship to molten slag. Thorne watched with grim satisfaction as a significant portion of the Cardassian home fleet peeled away from the main battle, drawn by his attack. Meanwhile, Colonel Alex Donovan and his strike team had infiltrated the massive structure housing the Doomsday device. Using stealth technology and the intelligence provided by Gul Ravik, they moved silently through its winding corridors. "Command, this is Donovan," he whispered into his comm. "We've reached the primary power conduits. Placing charges now." As Donovan's team worked, the battle outside intensified. Gul Madred, growing desperate, unleashed his forbidden weapons. Swarms of nanites engulfed Earth ships, targeting their life support systems. "Admiral Chen, this is the UES Horizon," a panicked voice called over the comm. "Our life support is failing. We can't—" The transmission cut off abruptly. Chen gritted her teeth, her mind racing to find a solution. "Deploy our medical ships," she ordered. "Get those crews to safety, and find me a way to neutralize those nanites." Inside the Doomsday Devices control center, the standoff between Dr. Krell Moset's team of saboteurs and loyal Cardassian troops had devolved into chaos. Moset, his hands shaking, frantically input the last bits of data into his console. "For the love of Cardassia," he muttered, hitting the transmit button, just as a plasma bolt struck him in the shoulder. Major Stone's team burst into the control center moments later, their weapons blazing. They found Moset slumped over his console, barely conscious. "Doctor," Stone said, kneeling beside him, "we need to know how to shut this thing down." Moset, his breath ragged, pointed weakly at the console. "The data, I sent it. You must... His eyes rolled back, and he fell unconscious. Stone quickly accessed the console, downloading the critical information about the weapon's vulnerabilities. As the battle raged on, Rear Admiral David Chen's task force finally brought the alien artifact within range of the Doomsday device. The dampening field intensified, causing widespread system failures across the Cardassian fleet. But the artifact itself began to destabilize, its energy output reaching critical levels. "Sir!" David's science officer called out, her voice trembling. "The artifact is becoming unstable. If it explodes, it'll take out the weapon and half our fleet with it." David's expression resolute as he weighed his options. The future of the cosmos hung in the balance, and time was running out. Suddenly, long-range sensors lit up with new contacts. A previously unknown Cardassian battle group emerged from a nearby nebula, led by the notorious Gul Dukat. Their ships, overflowing with stolen alien technology, charged toward the heart of the battle. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the tactical display with growing concern. The situation was spiraling out of control. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is Admiral Chen. All ships, Prepare for... Her words were cut short as a new fleet appeared on the edge of the system. The massive armada of the Galactic Council had arrived, their intentions unknown. As Chen stared at the rapidly changing tactical display, she knew that the next few moments would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of humanity and its place in the galaxy. Admiral Chen's eyes darted across the tactical display, her mind racing to process the sudden arrival of two new forces. Gul Dukat's battle group and the massive Galactic Council fleet had completely altered the dynamics of the engagement. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council's lead ship." Chen nodded, her expression grim. "Put it through." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the austere features of Ambassador Zoriak of the Atarians. "Admiral Chen, this is Ambassador Zoriak. The Galactic Council has arrived to oversee a ceasefire and facilitate negotiations between Earth and Cardassia. We urge both sides to stand down immediately." Chen's teeth clenched. The diplomatic intervention threatened to unravel their entire operation, but she couldn't dismiss it outright. "Ambassador, I appreciate the Council's concern, but we are in the middle of a critical operation to neutralize a weapon of mass destruction. We cannot..." Her words were cut short as alarms blared across the bridge. "Admiral!" her tactical officer shouted. "Gul Dukat's forces are engaging our fleet on the outskirts of the system." Chen's mind raced, quickly formulating a new strategy. She opened a channel to Captain Thorn. "Captain, disengage from your current position and intercept Gul Dukat's battle group. Your shield should give you the edge against their stolen tech." "Understood, Admiral," Thorn replied, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding him. "We're on our way." As Thorn's task force peeled away to engage Dukat, Chen turned her attention back to the planet's surface. She opened a channel to Major Stone's team inside the Doomsday Devices control center. "Major, what's your status?" Stone's voice came through, tinged with urgency and disbelief. "Admiral, we've made a disturbing discovery. The weapon's core, it's powered by thousands of human children in suspended animation. Their life force is being drained to fuel this monstrosity." Chen felt the blood drain from her face. The implications were staggering, and it completely changed the parameters of their mission. "Major, listen carefully. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to destroy the device. We need to find a way to safely extract those children." She quickly opened another channel to Colonel Donovan. "Colonel, abort your current mission. Your new objective is to locate and secure the containment field controls for the children powering the device. We need to get them out safely." "Copy that, Admiral," Donovan replied, his tone grim but determined. As Chen coordinated the new assault plan, reports flooded in from the planet's surface. The Cardassian dissident leader, Garak, had seized control of the main communication hub and was broadcasting evidence of the government's atrocities to the entire population. The revelation about the children powering the Doomsday device sparked widespread riots and chaos across Cardassia Prime. In orbit, Captain Thorn's fleet engaged Gul Dukat's forces in a fierce dogfight. The stolen alien technology on Dukat's ships proved formidable, but the superior defenses of Thorn's vessels gave them a crucial advantage. Thorn's voice crackled over the comm. "Admiral, we're holding our own against Dukat's ships, but their tech is like nothing we've ever seen. We can't keep this up indefinitely." Chen nodded grimly. "Understood, Captain. Hold the line as long as you can. We need time to drive the situation on the surface." Suddenly, her tactical officer called out, "Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy surge deep within Cardassian space. It looks like another Doomsday device." Chen's blood ran cold. The stakes had just risen exponentially. She quickly assessed her options, knowing that every second counted. "Prepare a detachment from our main fleet," she ordered. "The UES Resolute will lead the investigation into this new energy signature. We need to confirm if it's another weapon and neutralize it if necessary." As the Resolute and its escort ships broke away from the main battle, Chen activated the experimental quantum entanglement communication device. The advanced technology allowed for instantaneous coordination between all Earth forces, giving them a much-needed tactical advantage. "All units, this is Admiral Chen. We are initiating a synchronized assault on key Cardassian positions. Coordinate your attacks through the QEC network. Our primary objective remains the safe extraction of the children from the Doomsday device. All other concerns are secondary. On the surface, Major Stone's team worked feverishly to decrypt the device's control systems. Dr. Mosse's final instructions proved invaluable as they navigated the complex Cardassian technology. "We're making progress," Stone reported, his fingers flying over the alien console. "But powering down this thing while maintaining the containment field for the kids is like performing brain surgery in the middle of an earthquake." Before Chen could respond, alarms blared across Stone's comm channel. "We've got company," one of his team members shouted. "A group of Cardassian troops led by some high-ranking officer are storming the control center." Chen's heart raced as she realized the full scope of the situation. Earth forces were now spread across multiple fronts, engaging Dukat's fleet, investigating a potential second Doomsday device, attempting to rescue thousands of enslaved children, and fending off a last-ditch Cardassian assault on the control center. And looming over it all was the watchful presence of the Galactic Council, whose next move could dramatically alter the course of the battle. As reports flooded in from all fronts, Chen steeled herself for the difficult decisions that lay ahead. The next few hours would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of humanity in the galaxy. Galactic Community. The weight of command pressed heavily on Chen's shoulders as she prepared to issue her next set of orders. "UES Resolute, this is Admiral Chen. Proceed with caution to investigate the energy surge. Report any findings immediately." Captain Liana Reeves of the Resolute acknowledged the order and set her ship on a course deep into Cardassian space. As they approached the coordinates of the energy surge, the ship's sensors began to light up. "Captain," the science officer called out, "we're detecting a massive artificial structure hidden within what appears to be a manufactured nebula." Reeves leaned forward in her command chair, her eyes narrowing as she studied the sensor readings. "Magnify and enhance." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a colossal space station nestled within swirling clouds of cosmic dust and gas. Its design was unlike anything they had encountered before, with multiple concentric rings rotating around a central spire. "My God," Reeves whispered. "It's another Doomsday device." Back on the surface of Cardassia Prime, Major Jake Stone and his team worked feverishly to decipher the complex systems of the primary Doomsday device. Sweat beaded on Stone's forehead as his fingers flew across the alien console. "Sir," one of his team members called out, "I think I've found something. There's a subsystem here that seems to control the automated defenses." Stone rushed over, his eyes scanning the readouts. "Good work, Johnson. Let's see if we can—" Suddenly alarms blared throughout the control center. Red warning lights bathed the room in an eerie glow. "What the hell?" Stone muttered, racing back to his console. His eyes widened as he realized what was happening. "The device is fighting back. It's got some kind of fail-safe mechanism to prevent unauthorized shutdown." In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne's task force engaged Gul Dukat's battle group in a fierce dogfight. Thorne's voice crackled over the comm as he issued rapid-fire orders to his fleet. "Echo Squadron, form up on my 6. We're going to create a series of force field barriers to isolate their lead ships." Thorne's innovative use of the miniaturized shield technology caught Dukat's forces off guard. The Earth ships darted between the Cardassian vessels, projecting temporary force fields that disrupted their formation and cut off their lines of support. On the bridge of his flagship, Gul Dukat snarled in frustration as he watched his carefully planned assault fall apart. "Intensify forward firepower. Don't let them outmaneuver us." But Thorne's strategy was working. The Earth forces gradually gained the upper hand, picking off Dukat's isolated ships one by one. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, the Cardassian capital had devolved into chaos. Dissident leader Garrick, his face grim with determination, coordinated the rebel assault from a hastily established command center. "We've secured the central command building," a rebel lieutenant reported, "but General Tarok's loyalist forces are mounting a counteroffensive from the military district." Garrick nodded, his mind racing through potential strategies. "Redirect our forces from the southern sector. We need to hold the government quarter at all costs. As the urban battle intensified, the streets of the capital became a war zone. The sounds of weapons fire and explosions echoed through the once pristine corridors of power. Deep within the structure of the Doomsday device, Colonel Alex Donovan and his strike team finally reached the containment field controls for the enslaved children. Donovan's face was grim as he surveyed the rows of stasis pods, each containing a small, motionless form. "All right, people," he said, his voice low and intense. "Let's get these kids out of here." But as they began to work, they quickly realized the magnitude of the challenge before them. The life support systems for the containment pods were intricately linked to the weapon's power core. "Sir," one of his team members called out, "we can't just disconnect them. If we power down the containment field without properly decoupling the life support systems, we could kill them all." Donovan's eyes sharp as he considered their options. "Then we'll have to find another way. Keep working on those systems. There has to be a safe way to extract them." As Earth forces pressed their advantage on multiple fronts, Rear Admiral David Chen made a breakthrough with the unstable alien artifact. His science team had discovered a way to modulate its energy signature, creating a cascading dampening effect. "This is it," Chen said, his eyes alight with possibility. "We can extend the disruptive field to cover both the primary device and this new Omega station. Prepare to implement the modulation sequence on my mark." But before Chen could give the order, a new complication arose. The massive fleet of the Galactic Council, led by Ambassador Zorak, began to move into position around Cardassia Prime. Zorak's face appeared on the display, his expression stern. "Admiral Chen, the Galactic Council cannot allow this conflict to escalate further. We are establishing a blockade around Cardassia Prime. No ships will be permitted to enter or leave the system until a diplomatic solution can be reached." Chen's mind raced as she assessed this new development. The blockade would severely limit her ability to maneuver her forces and bring in much-needed reinforcements. As if the situation wasn't complex enough, long-range sensors detected a new fleet decloaking near the Omega station. The ships were unlike anything they had seen before, their design a perfect fusion of organic and mechanical elements. "Admiral," Chen's tactical officer called out, "we're detecting massive data transfers between those ships and the Omega station. They appear to be downloading something from the station's central computer core." Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. The newcomers' intentions were unclear, but their presence added yet another layer of complexity to an already chaotic battlefield. Suddenly, Chen's comm officer interrupted with an urgent message. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's from Colonel Jack Harper, Director of United Earth Intelligence." Chen nodded, bracing herself for whatever new information was about to complicate her already precarious situation. As she listened to Harper's report, her eyes widened in disbelief. "Understood, Colonel," she said finally. "We'll dispatch a team immediately." Chen took a deep breath, her mind already formulating a new strategy to deal with this latest development. The conflict had expanded far beyond a simple battle for Cardassia Prime, and the decisions she made in the next few minutes would shape the future of not just this war, but potentially the entire galactic community. Admiral Chen's mind raced as she processed the information from Colonel Harper. The situation had become even more complex, with implications that stretched far beyond the immediate conflict. "Tactical, give me a full status update on all fronts," Chen ordered, her eyes scanning the holographic display before her. As the tactical officer began his report, Chen's attention was drawn to the UES Resolute's approach towards the newly discovered Omega station. Captain Liana Reeves's voice crackled over the comm. "Admiral, we're initiating our stealth approach to the Omega station. Our sensors are picking up multiple layers of defensive systems. This thing is a fortress." Chen nodded grimly. "Proceed with caution, Captain. We need that intel, but don't take any unnecessary risks." On Cardassia Prime, Major Jake Stone's team faced a critical challenge. As they worked to power down the primary Doomsday device, they discovered a deadly failsafe. "Admiral," Stone reported, his voice tense, "the weapon's automated defenses are linked to the children's life support. A complete shutdown could be fatal." Chen's teeth gritted. "Focus on disabling the offensive capabilities, Major. Keep that containment field active at all costs." In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne's task force continued its fierce engagement with Gul Dukat's battle group. Thorne's voice was steady as he issued orders to his fleet. All ships, execute maneuver Thorne Delta 7. Let's herd these bastards into the asteroid field. Thorne's bold tactic paid off as Dukat's forces found themselves boxed in, their advanced weapons rendered less effective by the dense field of space debris. Earth ships darted between the asteroids, picking off isolated Cardassian vessels with precision strikes. On the surface, the urban battle between Garrick's rebels and General Tarak's loyalists threatened to spiral out of control. Chen quickly dispatched a contingent of Earth's augmented soldiers to secure key strategic points. Team Alpha, this is Admiral Chen. Your priority is to protect the device's support structures. We can't risk any collateral damage to those systems. Inside the Doomsday device itself, Colonel Alex Donovan's strike team worked feverishly to decouple the children's life support from the weapon's power core. Just as they began to make progress, alarms blared throughout the facility. "Contact!" Donovan shouted, raising his weapon as a group of fanatical Cardassian soldiers burst into the chamber. At their head was a high-ranking officer, his eyes blazing with zealous fury. "I am Gul Revok," the Cardassian snarled, "and you will not desecrate this sacred weapon." As Donovan's team engaged in close-quarters combat with Revok's forces, Rear Admiral David Chen's task force successfully implemented the modulated energy signature from the alien artifact. The cascading dampening effect began to disable both the primary device and the Omega Station, but the strain on the artifact was immense. "Sir," one of Chen's officers called out, "the artifact is becoming unstable. We can't maintain this effect for long without risking a catastrophic overload." Chen gritted his teeth, knowing he was racing against time. The situation grew even more complicated as Ambassador Zorek's voice boomed across all channels. "This is your final warning. Cease all hostilities immediately and surrender control of the Doomsday devices to the Galactic Council, or face the consequences." Admiral Sarah Chen's mind whirled as she assessed the rapidly evolving battlefield. She knew that every decision now could tip the balance between victory and catastrophic defeat. "Dispatch our cyber warfare team to intercept and analyze the data transfer between the Mech Collective and the Omega Station," Chen ordered. "We need to understand what they're after." As reports flooded in from all fronts, Chen's attention was drawn to an urgent transmission from Dr. Marcus Reeves on Cardassia Prime's moon. "Admiral," Reeves' voice was filled with a mix of awe and horror, "we've discovered dozens of stasis pods containing human Cardassian hybrid children. The implications of this are staggering." Chen's eyes narrowed as she processed this new information. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place, revealing a picture far more complex and disturbing than she had initially imagined. Suddenly, her tactical officer's voice cut through her thoughts. "Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting a massive Cardassian fleet approaching at high warp. It's Gul Raktar's battle group." Chen's blood ran cold. Raktar was a legend among Cardassian military strategists, and his arrival threatened to overwhelm Earth's forces entirely. She knew she had to act fast. "This is Admiral Chen to all Earth forces," she announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We are initiating Operation Quantum Gambit. Prepare for the arrival of the UES Excalibur." As her officers scrambled to execute her orders, Chen allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The prototype quantum phase drive aboard the Excalibur was Earth's ace in the hole, a technological marvel that could turn the tide of the entire war. With Gul Raktar's fleet bearing down on them and the clock ticking on multiple fronts, Chen knew that the next few hours would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of humanity in the galaxy. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the cosmic order. Admiral Chen's mind raced as she processed the implications of Colonel Harper's report. The stakes had risen exponentially, and she knew that every decision in the coming hours would be critical. "All hands, this is Admiral Chen," she announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We are initiating Operation Quantum Gambit. Prepare for the arrival of the UES Excalibur." As her officers scrambled to execute her orders, Chen allowed herself a brief moment of grim satisfaction. The prototype quantum phase drive aboard the Excalibur was Earth's ace in the hole, a technological marvel that could turn the tide of the entire war. Millions of kilometers away on Earth, Captain Marcus Hawkins stood on the bridge of the UES Excalibur, his eyes fixed on the starfield before him. The ship hummed with hardly restrained energy, its experimental quantum phase drive pushing the boundaries of known physics. "Engineering, status report," Hawkins demanded, his fingers tapping impatiently on the armrest of his command chair. "Quantum drive is stable, Captain," his chief engineer responded. "We're ready for our first jump." Hawkins nodded, a determined glint in his eye. "Helm, set course for Cardassia Prime. Maximum quantum velocity." The Excalibur shuddered as the drive engaged, stars blurring into streaks of light as the ship accelerated to impossible speeds. Hawkins gripped his chair, knowing that the fate of the battle, and perhaps the war, rested on their timely arrival. Back on Cardassia Prime, Major Jake Stone and his team worked feverishly within the bowels of the primary doomsday device. Sweat beaded on Stone's forehead as he carefully manipulated the complex circuitry before him. "Sir, I think we've got it," one of his technicians called out. "The weapons firing mechanisms are now isolated from the power core." Stone allowed himself a small smile of triumph. "Good work. Now let's make sure those kids' life support systems remain stable." But their victory was short-lived. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility, and massive blast doors began to slide shut around them. "Damn it," Stone cursed. "The fail-safes. Everyone, move! We need to get these kids out before we're sealed in." In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne's voice rang out across the comms of his task force. "All ships, execute maneuver Thorne Delta 7. Let's herd these bastards into the asteroid field." Thorne watched with grim satisfaction as Ducat's forces found themselves boxed in, their advanced weapons rendered less effective by the dense field of space debris. Earth ships darted between the asteroids, picking off isolated Cardassian vessels with precision strikes. On Ducat's flagship, alarms blared as systems failed across the board. The Cardassian leader's face contorted with rage as he realized the trap he'd fallen into. "Weapons offline, propulsion failing," his tactical officer reported, panic evident in his voice. Ducat's hand clenched into a fist as he stared at the tactical display. With a mix of fury and resignation, he gave the order he'd hoped never to utter. "Send a distress signal to Gulraktar's fleet. We need immediate assistance." On the surface of Cardassia Prime, the urban battle reached a fever pitch. Earth's augmented soldiers moved with superhuman speed and strength, outmaneuvering Cardassian troops at every turn. Garrick, coordinating the rebel assault, couldn't help but be impressed by the augment's effectiveness. "Redirect our forces to support the Earth troops," he ordered. "We need to secure the area around the device's control center." Inside the Doomsday device, Colonel Alex Donovan and his strike team found themselves in a desperate firefight with Gulrivok's fanatics. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as both sides took cover behind stasis pods and control consoles. "We can't let them near those controls," Donovan shouted, squeezing off a burst from his rifle. "Protect the kids at all costs." At the Omega station, Rear Admiral David Chen's face paled as new alarms blared across his command center. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the station's self-destruct sequence has been activated. We have less than an hour before it goes critical." Chen's mind raced through possible solutions. "Get me a direct line to our cyber warfare team," he ordered. "We need to find a way to override that self-destruct. And fast." As if the situation wasn't complex enough, Ambassador Zorak's voice boomed across all channels once more. "Attention Earth forces and rebel Cardassians. Several members of the Galactic Council have broken ranks and are moving to support your efforts. I urge you to stand down and allow for diplomatic negotiations before this conflict escalates further." Chen's comm officer interrupted with another urgent message. "Admiral, we're detecting a massive Cardassian fleet approaching at high warp. It's Gulraktar's battle group." Chen's blood ran cold. She knew that the arrival of Raktar's forces could overwhelm her already stretched defenses. With the Excalibur still hours away, she had to make a critical decision. "This is Admiral Chen to all Earth forces," she announced, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. Redeploy to create a defensive screen around Cardassia Prime. We must hold the line until the Excalibur arrives. As Chen gave the order, she knew she was potentially leaving the Omega Station in the Moon facility vulnerable. But with the fate of millions hanging in the balance, she had no choice but to concentrate her forces and hope that the gamble would pay off. The battle for Cardassia Prime had entered its most critical phase. With multiple fronts to manage, doomsday devices to disable, children to rescue, and a massive enemy fleet approaching, the next few hours would determine not just the outcome of this conflict, but the future of humanity in the galaxy. As Earth's forces braced for the coming storm, the question on everyone's mind was, would the Excalibur arrive in time to turn the tide? The tension on the bridge of the UES Excalibur was palpable as the ship emerged from its quantum jump on the outskirts of the Cardassian system. Captain Marcus Hawkins leaned forward in his command chair, his eyes scanning the tactical display with laser-like focus. "Status report," he barked, taking in the chaotic battlefield before them. "Quantum drive stable, but showing signs of strain, sir," his chief engineer reported. "We can make a few more jumps, but we'll need to be careful." Hawkins nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "Comms, get me Admiral Chen. Tactical, prepare for micro-jump sequence Hawkins Alpha 3. As the bridge crew sprang into action, Admiral Sarah Chen's face appeared on the main view screen. Her expression was a mix of relief and dedication. "Captain Hawkins, your timing couldn't be better," she said. "We're facing multiple crises. Gul Raktar's fleet is bearing down on us, and we've just detected a potential solar weapon in the Cardassian star." Hawkins's teeth gritted. "Understood, Admiral. We'll use our quantum drive to create a breakthrough in Raktar's lines. That should buy your forces some time to regroup." Chen nodded. "Make it happen, Captain. I'm redeploying our forces into a three-dimensional defense grid around Cardassia Prime. The Excalibur will be our linchpin." As the communication ended, Hawkins turned to his helm officer. "Execute jump sequence. Let's show these Cardassians what Earth's finest can do." The Excalibur vanished in a burst of quantum energy, reappearing moments later in the heart of Gul Raktar's formation. Advanced phasers and quantum torpedoes lashed out, catching the Cardassian ships completely off guard. On the surface of Cardassia Prime, Major Jake Stone and his team raced against time within the primary doomsday device. Alarms blared as the facility's lockdown protocol threatened to trap them inside. "Jenkins, Carter, get those blast doors open," Stone shouted over the din. "Everyone else, keep working on the extraction process. We're not leaving a single child behind." The augmented soldiers moved with inhuman speed, their enhanced strength allowing them to manually override the security systems. One by one, stasis pods containing the hybrid children were disconnected from the weapon's power core. In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne's task force regrouped after their victory against Gul Dukat's ships. Thorne's voice crackled over the comms as he issued rapid-fire orders. "All ships, form up on me. We're moving to intercept Raktar's vanguard. The Excalibur is creating an opening, and we're going to exploit it." Earth vessels surged forward, their weapons blazing as they engaged the lead elements of Raktar's fleet. The space around Cardassia Prime lit up with the fury of battle, energy weapons, and torpedoes crisscrossing the void. On the planet's surface, Colonel Victor Graves led his team of augmented soldiers through the war-torn streets of the Cardassian capital. They moved with practiced efficiency, neutralizing resistance with surgical precision. "There!" Graves pointed to a heavily fortified building ahead. "That's the communications hub. Once we take it, we can throw Raktar's entire battle plan into chaos." The augments surged forward, their enhanced reflexes allowing them to dodge incoming fire with ease. Within minutes, they had breached the hub's defenses and secured the facility. "Get our tech specialists in here now," Graves ordered. "I want full access to Cardassian fleet communications in the next 5 minutes." At the Omega Station, Rear Admiral David Chen watched with growing concern as the self-destruct countdown continued to tick away. His science officer approached with a look of desperate inspiration. "Sir, I think we can use the alien artifact to create a localized time dilation field," she explained quickly. "It won't stop the countdown, but it could buy us the time we need to complete our mission." Chen nodded grimly. "Do it. We're out of options." As the artifact's energy signature enveloped the station, The countdown slowed to a crawl. Chen allowed himself a small sigh of relief before turning back to the task at hand. All teams push forward. We have a narrow window to disable this station and secure its data. Let's make every second count. In the midst of the chaos, a group of Galactic Council ships broke formation and moved to support Earth's forces. The Atarian cruiser Starfire, commanded by Captain Zara, took point in the new formation. "This is Captain Zara to Earth forces," her voice rang out across the comms. "We stand with you against this Cardassian aggression. Direct us where we're needed most." As the battle raged on multiple fronts, the UES Excalibur continued its lightning strikes against Gul Raktar's fleet. Captain Hawkins's unorthodox tactics kept the Cardassians off balance, but the strain on the quantum drive grew with each jump. "Sir," the chief engineer's voice was tense, "the quantum matrix is showing signs of instability. We can't keep this up much longer." Hawkins gritted his teeth, knowing that the next few decisions could determine the fate of the entire battle. With Gul Raktar's forces still pressing their attack and the threat of the solar weapon looming, the captain knew that time was running out. The Excalibur would have to make its final jumps count if they hoped to turn the tide of this epic confrontation. Captain Hawkins gripped the arms of his command chair as the Excalibur's quantum drive flared to life once more. The ship vanished from its position among Gul Raktar's fleet, reappearing in a brilliant flash of energy near Cardassia Prime's star. "Status report," Hawkins barked, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Quantum matrix stability at 47%, sir," the chief engineer reported, his voice strained. "We can't take many more jumps." Hawkins nodded grimly, taking in the sight before them. A massive structure pulsed with energy on the star's surface, its purpose unmistakable. "Tactical, full scan of that device. I want options for neutralizing it now." As the Excalibur's crew worked feverishly to analyze the solar weapon, Admiral Sarah Chen coordinated the multi-pronged assault from her command center. Holographic displays flickered around her, each one representing a different aspect of the battle. "Status on the evacuation, Major Stone?" Chen's voice crackled over the comm. On the surface of Cardassia Prime, Jake Stone ducked behind a fallen support beam as automated defense turrets peppered his position with phaser fire. "First group of children secured in transport pods, Admiral," he reported, his breathing heavy. "But this lockdown protocol is giving us hell." Stone turned to his team, gesturing to a group of augmented soldiers. "Jenkins, Carter, take your squads and push forward. We need to clear a path to the exit." The augmented soldiers moved with inhuman speed and precision, their enhanced reflexes allowing them to dodge incoming fire as they advanced on the turrets. Stone watched in awe as they systematically dismantled the facility's defenses, creating a corridor for the evacuation to continue. In orbit, Captain Michael Thorne's task force engaged the lead elements of Raktar's fleet. Earth vessels danced between Cardassian ships, their weapons blazing in coordinated strikes. "All ships, form up on Vector 227 Mark III, Thorne ordered. "We need to keep them off balance until the Excalibur can neutralize that solar weapon." At the Omega Station, Rear Admiral David Chen watched as the alien artifact's energy field enveloped the structure, slowing the self-destruct countdown to a crawl. "Sir, we've accessed the station's data core," his science officer reported. "We're downloading the schematics for the entire Cardassian superweapon network." Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Excellent work. Get that data to our cyber warfare team immediately." On Cardassia Prime's moon, Dr. Marcus Reeves carefully monitored the vital signs of the first group of human Cardassian hybrids as they emerged from stasis. His eyes widened as he observed the children communicating without speaking, their thoughts flowing between them like water. "Incredible," he muttered, furiously taking notes. "Their telepathic abilities are far beyond anything we anticipated." In the urban combat zone, Colonel Victor Graves and his augmented soldiers secured the Cardassian military communications hub. Graves watched with satisfaction as false orders were broadcast to Raktar's fleet, causing confusion and disarray among the enemy ships. "Keep it up," he ordered his team. "The more chaos we sow, the better chance our fleet has." Major Derek Frost's extraction team breached the science facility where Deiral and her resistance group were under siege. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as Earth's special forces engaged Gul Toran's loyal troops in close-quarters combat. "Darrell, we're here to get you out," Frost shouted over the din of battle. "Grab your team and any data you can. We move in 2 minutes." As the various fronts of the battle progressed, the UES Excalibur faced its greatest challenge yet. Captain Hawkins stared at the pulsing solar weapon, his mind racing through potential strategies. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the weapon is drawing energy directly from the star's core. If it fires, it could trigger a nova that would destroy the entire system." Hawkins's fist tight. "Then we don't let it fire. Helm, bring us in close. Engineering, prepare to divert all power to the quantum drive." "Captain," the chief engineer protested, "the drive can't take that kind of strain. We could tear the ship apart." "We don't have a choice," Hawkins replied firmly. "We're going to create a subspace field around that weapon and contain the energy buildup." As the Excalibur moved into position, Admiral Chen received an urgent communication from Earth. Her eyes widened as she read the message, a mixture of hope and concern crossing her face. "This is Admiral Chen to all Earth forces," she announced, her voice steady despite the implications of the news. "Be advised, a second Earth fleet led by the UES Prometheus is en route to our position. Stand by for reinforcements." The news of incoming support energized Earth's forces, but it also prompted a response from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Zorak's voice boomed across all channels once more. "Attention all combatants. The Galactic Council has authorized the deployment of a peacekeeping fleet to Cardassia Prime. We urge all parties to stand down and prepare for negotiations." As the battle for Cardassia Prime reached its crescendo, the actions of the next few moments would determine not just the outcome of the conflict, but the future of humanity's role in the galaxy. With the solar weapon primed to fire, hybrid children being evacuated, and the imminent arrival of both Earth reinforcements and a Galactic Council peacekeeping fleet, the stage was set for a climactic showdown that would reshape the balance of power in the quadrant. Hawkins's eyes narrowed as he focused on the pulsing solar weapon. The Excalibur's quantum drive hummed ominously, pushed to its limits. "Initiate subspace field generation," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Contain that energy buildup at all costs." The ship's systems strained as the quantum drive engaged, creating a flickering barrier around the massive Cardassian weapon. Energy readings spiked on the tactical display as the Excalibur phased in and out of normal space, its crew working feverishly to maintain the delicate balance. On the bridge of her flagship, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before a holographic representation of the Cardassian system. Her eyes darted between the various fronts of the battle, issuing rapid-fire orders to coordinate the complex operation. "Major Stone, status on the evacuation," she demanded, her voice crisp over the comm channel. Stone's reply came through punctuated by the sound of weapons fire. "First group secured, Admiral. We're loading the second wave now." On Cardassia Prime's surface, Stone and his team moved with practiced efficiency. Augmented soldiers provided covering fire as transport pods containing the rescued children were loaded onto waiting shuttles. The facility's automated defense turrets peppered their position relentlessly, but the enhanced reflexes of Stone's team allowed them to dodge and weave through the barrage. "Jenkins, Carter, push forward!" Stone shouted, gesturing towards a cluster of turrets blocking their escape route. "We need that exit clear now." The augmented soldiers surged forward, their movements a blur as they systematically dismantled the defensive emplacements. As they worked, Stone received an update on his tactical display. "Admiral," he reported, "additional Earth transports incoming. ETA 3 minutes. In orbit, Captain Thorne's task force pressed their advantage against Gulraktar's fleet. Earth vessels executed precision maneuvers, their weapons finding weak points in the Cardassian ship's defenses. All ships, form up on Vector 331 Mark IV, Thorne commanded. Drive them back from the planet. We need to keep that evacuation corridor clear. At the Omega Station, Rear Admiral David Chen watched as his team made steady progress against the facility systems. The alien artifact's time dilation field continued to buy them precious seconds, slowing the self-destruct sequence to a crawl. Sir, his science officer called out, We've located a hidden chamber. It's filled with prototype weapons, like nothing we've seen before. Chen's eyes widened at the implications. Secure that chamber immediately. Get our top minds on analyzing those prototypes. This could change everything. On Cardassia Prime's moon, Dr. Marcus Reeves stood transfixed as the first group of human Cardassian hybrid children regained consciousness. One of the young hybrids, a girl no older than 10, sat up abruptly and turned to face him. Her eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity. "They're coming," she said, her voice carrying an unnatural resonance. "We can feel them." Reeves fumbled for his communicator, his hands shaking with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "Admiral Chen, this is Reeves. You need to see this. The hybrids, they're exhibiting abilities far beyond our initial projections." In the heart of Cardassia, Prime's capital, Colonel Victor Graves and his team worked furiously to exploit their control over the military communications hub. Encrypted transmissions scrolled across their screens, revealing a wealth of tactical information. "Sir," one of his operatives called out, "we've pinpointed the location of a hidden bunker. High-level Cardassian leadership confirmed inside." Graves nodded grimly. "Relay that intel to Admiral Chen immediately. We may have just found our endgame." As Earth forces pressed their advantage on multiple fronts, long-range sensors lit up with new contacts. The UES Prometheus led a formidable fleet of reinforcements into the system, their weapons already charging as they moved to engage the remnants of Raktar's forces. The sudden appearance of fresh Earth ships sent shockwaves through the Cardassian lines. Entire formations broke apart as captains attempted to regroup in the face of this new threat. Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile as she watched the tactical display update. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Push forward with everything you've got. We've got them on the ropes." Her moment of triumph was short-lived, however, as another set of contacts appeared at the edge of the system. The sleek lines of Galactic Council vessels cut through space, their neutral markings a stark contrast to the battle-scarred ships locked in combat around them. Ambassador Zorak's voice boomed across all frequencies. "This is the Galactic Council peacekeeping fleet to all combatants. You are ordered to stand down immediately and prepare for negotiations." Chen's teeth gritted as she considered her options. The arrival of the Council threatened to undo all they had accomplished, potentially allowing the Cardassians to regroup and fortify their positions. "This is Admiral Chen to all Earth forces," she broadcast, her voice steady and determined. "We have a limited window of opportunity. Execute maximum effort on all fronts. I want our primary objectives secured before the Council can intervene." As her orders went out, Chen turned to her communications officer. "Get me a secure line to Ambassador Zorak. We need to buy ourselves some time." Across the Cardassian system, the battle intensified. The Excalibur continued its desperate struggle against the solar weapon, while on the surface, Major Stone's team raced to evacuate the remaining children. In orbit, Earth ships pressed their advantage, driving deep into Cardassian territory. The next few moments would determine not just the outcome of the battle, but the future of humanity's place in the galaxy. As the Council ships drew closer and the Cardassian resistance crumbled, the race against time reached its fever pitch. The Excalibur trembled as the quantum drive strained against its limits, the subspace field flickering ominously around the Cardassian solar weapon. "Hull integrity at 62% and falling," the tactical officer reported, her voice tight with tension. "We can't maintain this containment for much longer, Captain." Hawkins' eyes darted between the readouts, his mind racing through possibilities. "Helm, prepare for a final quantum jump. We're going to position ourselves directly between that weapon and the star's core." "Sir, that's suicide," the helmsman protested. "It's our only shot," Hawkins replied firmly. "On my mark, execute the jump and divert all remaining power to shields." As the Excalibur made its bold strategy, Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. "All Earth forces, this is Admiral Chen. Initiate Phase 2 of the operation. I want a coordinated assault on all remaining Cardassian strongholds. The UES Prometheus and its fleet will provide support." The battlefield erupted into renewed chaos as Earth ships surged forward, their weapons blazing. The arrival of the Prometheus tilted the balance, its advanced energy weapons carving through Cardassian defenses with terrifying efficiency. On Cardassia Prime's surface, Major Jake Stone's team worked feverishly to evacuate the last group of enslaved children from the containment field. The arrival of additional Earth transports accelerated their efforts, but the constant threat of Cardassian counterattacks kept them on edge. "Sir," one of Stone's soldiers called out, gesturing towards a partially concealed hatch. "We've detected an anomaly. There appears to be a vast network of tunnels beneath the facility." Stone's eyes narrowed as he considered the implications. "Diaz, take your squad and investigate. If there are more captives down there, we need to get them out now." As Diaz's team disappeared into the depths of the underground complex, Stone turned his attention back to the evacuation. The last group of children was being loaded onto a transport when a series of explosions rocked the facility. "Incoming!" Stone shouted, diving for cover as Cardassian fighters strafed their position. "Get those transports in the air now." In orbit, the Excalibur executed its final desperate maneuver. The ship phased into existence between the solar weapon and the star, its shields glowing white-hot as they absorbed the full force of the weapon's discharge. The resulting explosion sent shockwaves through the system, disabling the Cardassian superweapon, but leaving the Excalibur a battered hulk drifting in the star's corona. At the Omega Station, Rear Admiral David Chen's team had just finished securing the prototype Cardassian weapons when alarms blared throughout the facility. "Sir, we've got a problem," his science officer reported, her voice tight with urgency. "A group of Cardassian scientists have released some kind of experimental nanobot swarm. It's consuming all non-Cardassian organic matter in its path." Chen's eyes widened as he watched the swarm's progress on a nearby monitor. "Everyone, seal your suits immediately. We need to contain this threat before it spreads beyond the station." As Chen's team battled the microscopic menace, Dr. Marcus Reeves faced a crisis of his own on Cardassia Prime's moon. The awakened human Cardassian hybrid children displayed abilities far beyond anything they had anticipated, but a subset of the group had become increasingly aggressive and unstable. "Sedate them now!" Reeves shouted as one of the hybrid children effortlessly tore through a reinforced containment field. "We need to stabilize their physiology before they hurt themselves or others." In the depths of Cardassia Prime's capital, Colonel Victor Graves led his team of augmented soldiers through the labyrinthine corridors of the hidden leadership bunker. The sounds of close-quarters combat echoed through the complex as they engaged elite Cardassian guards. "Push forward," Graves ordered, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge a barrage of plasma bolts. "We need to secure those leaders before they can implement any contingency plans." As Earth forces pressed their advantage across multiple fronts, the arrival of the Galactic Council's peacekeeping fleet added a new layer of complexity to the battle. Admiral Chen found herself facing a diplomatic standoff, even as she coordinated the ongoing offensive. "This is Admiral Chen to the UES Prometheus," she transmitted, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. "Move to intercept the Council fleet. We need to buy more time to achieve our objectives." The Prometheus, its advanced shields shimmering with scarcely controlled energy, positioned itself between the Council ships and the raging battle. As the diplomatic tensions rose, long-range sensors detected a new threat emerging from a nearby nebula. "Admiral," her tactical officer called out, "we've got multiple contacts incoming. It's Gul Dukat's battle group. They're attacking our supply lines." Chen's mind raced as she assessed the rapidly evolving situation. The fate of the entire offensive hung in the balance, with challenges mounting on every front. As she prepared to issue new orders, the battle for Cardassia Prime entered its most critical phase yet. Chen's mind raced as she assessed the rapidly evolving situation. The fate of the entire offensive hung in the balance, with challenges mounting on every front. As she prepared to issue new orders, the battle for Cardassia Prime entered its most critical phase. "Admiral, urgent transmission from Major Stone's team on the surface," her communications officer reported. Chen's attention snapped to the holographic display. "Put it through." Major Jake Stone's face materialized, his expression a mix of shock and urgency. "Admiral, we've made a startling discovery. There's an extensive underground complex beneath the primary facility. My team's initial scans indicate Thousands more human children held captive down there. Chen's eyes widened. Thousands? How is that possible? It appears to be a vast subterranean city, ma'am. We need to expand our evacuation efforts immediately. Chen nodded grimly. Understood, Major. I'm rerouting additional transports and medical teams to your location. Get those children out of there. As she relayed the new orders, another alert flashed on her tactical display. The UES Excalibur, still adrift in the star's corona after neutralizing the solar weapon, was facing a critical power failure. Patch me through to Captain Hawkins, Chen commanded. The communication channel crackled with static before stabilizing. Admiral, Hawkins's voice came through, strained but determined. We're initiating emergency protocols. I've ordered the crew to don experimental personal shield generators for an EVA operation. It's our only chance to restore propulsion and get out of this inferno. Understood, Captain. We'll have rescue ships standing by. Good luck. Chen turned her attention to the ongoing battle near the Omega Station. Rear Admiral David Chen's team was making progress against the nanobot swarm, but the situation remained precarious. Status update on the Omega Station, she demanded. Her tactical officer responded promptly. Rear Admiral Chen's team has deployed EMP devices to counter the nanobots. They've also discovered a hidden chamber containing data crystals with potentially crucial intelligence. As Chen processed this information, a new alert caught her attention. Dr. Marcus Reeves's team on Cardassia Prime's moon was facing a crisis with the human Cardassian hybrid children. Admiral, Dr. Reeves's voice came through, tense and urgent. We've had to use neural inhibitors to suppress the hybrid's abilities. The situation is under control for now, but we need more time to develop a permanent solution. Chen acknowledged the report, her mind already racing to the next crisis point. Lieutenant Commander Alan Turing's cyber warfare team had successfully repelled the Mech Collective's attacks, but their victory had come with an unexpected revelation. Admiral, Turing reported, our AI's interaction with the collective systems has revealed the existence of a hidden mech installation within Cardassian space. It appears to be the source of their advanced weapons technology. Before Chen could fully process this new information, Colonel Victor Graves' voice cut through the comm channel. Admiral, we've breached the Cardassian leadership bunker. We're engaged in heavy combat, but we've located a long-range teleportation device. The Cardassian officials are attempting to escape. Chen's fists clenched. Stop them at all costs, Colonel. We can't let them slip away. As if the situation wasn't complex enough, Major Derek Frost's team reported in from the hidden Cardassian shipyard. Admiral, we've successfully hijacked one of their stealth warships. We're turning their own cloaking technology against them. Chen allowed herself a small smile at this piece of good news, but it was short-lived. The diplomatic standoff with the Galactic Council was escalating rapidly. Admiral, her political advisor interjected, Ambassador Zorak is threatening to create an energy barrier around Cardassia Prime. We need to act fast to prevent being trapped. Chen made a split-second decision. Deploy Dr. Alexander Sinclair's diplomatic team to engage with Zorak. We need to buy more time. As she issued this order, a new alert blared across the command center. Strike Force Omega had engaged Gul Dukat's battle group near a dense asteroid field. The two fleets clashed in a series of intricate maneuvers, with Earth forces attempting to funnel Dukat's ships into a prepared kill zone. Chen watched the battle unfold on her tactical display, her heart racing as Earth and Cardassian ships traded fire. Suddenly, a massive energy surge erupted from within the asteroid field. What the hell is that? Chen demanded. Her sensor officer's voice was filled with awe and fear. Ma'am, it's a massive Cardassian space station. It was cloaked, but it's decloaking now. Energy readings are off the charts. As the colossal station, codenamed Basilisk, powered up its weapon systems, Chen realized the true scope of the threat they faced. This was the heart of Cardassian military operations, the source of their most advanced technologies. Without hesitation, Chen began issuing rapid-fire orders. Redirect the UES Prometheus and its fleet to support Strike Force Omega, and prepare to deploy our microdrone swarms. It's time to show the Cardassians what Earth's latest technology can do. As her commands echoed across the battlefield, Chen steeled herself for the next phase of this grueling conflict. The battle for Cardassia Prime had reached its zenith, and the actions taken in the next few moments would determine not just the outcome of this war, but the future of humanity in the galaxy. Galactic landscape for generations to come. Chen's eyes darted across the holographic display, taking in the rapidly evolving battlefield. She nodded to her tactical officer. Initiate Operation Sunburst. Across the Cardassian system, Earth forces sprang into action. The UES Prometheus, its hull gleaming with barely held back energy, broke formation and accelerated towards the massive Basilisk station. In its wake, a fleet of smaller, agile ships fanned out, creating a complex web of offensive and defensive patterns. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Elena Rodriguez gripped her command chair. All hands, battle stations, prepare micro-drone swarms for deployment. As the Earth fleet closed in on the Basilisk, thousands of microscopic drones erupted from launch tubes along the ship's hulls. The swarm, guided by advanced AI algorithms, swarmed towards the Cardassian station like a glittering cloud of stardust. Deep within the station's control center, Cardassian officers scrambled to respond to the unexpected threat. "Raise shields to maximum!" a gull barked, his scales glistening with sweat. But it was too late. The micro-drones slipped through microscopic imperfections in the shield matrix, infiltrating the station's vital systems. Alarms blared throughout the Basilisk as systems began to fail. Weapons emplacements powered down, life support fluctuated, and shields flickered ominously. Captain Rodriguez allowed herself a grim smile. Now, while they're vulnerable, all ships concentrate fire on the main reactor housing. The space around the Basilisk lit up with a dazzling array of energy weapons as the Earth fleet unleashed its full arsenal. The station's weakened defenses crumbled under the assault, great chunks of its superstructure breaking away and tumbling into space. Meanwhile, on Cardassia Prime's surface, Major Jake Stone led his team deeper into the sprawling underground complex. The cavernous chambers echoed with the sounds of hurried evacuation as Earth forces worked to free the thousands of human children held captive. "This way," Stone shouted, gesturing towards a group of terrified youngsters huddled in a corner. "We're here to take you home." He knelt beside a small girl with tangled blonde hair, her eyes wide with fear and hope. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now." As Stone's team guided the children towards waiting transport ships, the ground shook with the impact of Cardassian counterattacks. He tapped his communicator. "Stone to orbital defense. We need more cover fire at grid coordinates 227 by 134. In response, Earth's orbital platforms intensified their barrage, creating a protective umbrella over the evacuation zones. Transport ships darted through gaps in the Cardassian defenses, their holds filled with rescued children. In the star's corona, the crew of the UES Excalibur raced against time. Captain Marcus Hawkins, his environmental suit scorched by solar radiation, worked feverishly to replace a damaged power relay. "How long until that solar flare hits us?" he barked into his comm. 7 minutes, sir," came the tense reply from the ship's science officer. Hawkins gritted his teeth, his hands moving with practiced precision despite the oppressive heat. "We'll cut it close, but we'll make it. Prepare for emergency warp jump on my mark." As the Excalibur's crew battled the star's fury, Rear Admiral David Chen faced a crisis of his own aboard the Omega station. The experimental weapons prototypes pulsed with unstable energy, their containment fields on the verge of collapse. "We can't let this technology fall into Cardassian hands," Chen declared, his face illuminated by the eerie glow of the weapons. "Rig the station to self-destruct. We'll take the data crystals and go." His team worked swiftly, setting charges at key structural points, while Chen personally secured the precious data crystals containing intelligence on Cardassian black sites. As they sprinted towards their escape shuttle, the first explosions rocked the station. On Cardassia Prime's moon, Dr. Marcus Reeves monitored the vital signs of a sedated human Cardassian hybrid child. The newly synthesized genetic stabilizer flowed through an IV line, its effects visible on a nearby bioscanner. "Heart rate stabilizing," Reeves murmured, a note of cautious optimism in his voice. "Brain activity returning to normal parameters." He turned to his team, his eyes bright with the promise of a breakthrough. Prepare the next group for treatment. We may have just saved these children's lives and given Earth a key to understanding Cardassian biology. In the digital realm, Lieutenant Commander Alan Turing's cyber warfare team waged an invisible battle against the Mech Collective. Lines of code flashed across screens as Turing's AI-enhanced viruses probed the Collective's defenses. "Sir, we're detecting anomalies in the Collective's response patterns," one of Turing's analysts reported. "It's as if different parts of the system are working at cross purposes." Turing's eyes narrowed. "Interesting. Isolate those conflicting nodes and probe deeper. We may have stumbled onto something bigger than we realized." As Earth forces pressed their advantage across multiple fronts, long-range sensors detected a new threat emerging from behind Cardassia Prime. A massive ship, dwarfing even the largest known Cardassian vessels, powered up its engines and moved to intercept the Earth assault on the Basilisk station. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the comm channels, her tone sharp with urgency. "All ships, be advised. We have a new player on the field. Designation, Nemesis. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." The battle for Cardassia Prime had entered its most critical phase, with the fate of two civilizations hanging in the balance. As Earth forces regrouped to face this new threat, the true test of humanity's tenacity and ingenuity was about to begin. The massive Cardassian warship loomed into view, its imposing silhouette dwarfing even the largest Earth vessels. Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed as she assessed the new threat. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Engage the Nemesis with extreme caution. We cannot allow it to disrupt our assault on the Basilisk station." Admiral Jonathan Hawke's voice crackled over the comm. "Understood, Admiral. Strike Force Omega is moving to intercept." Chen watched as Hawke's fleet approached the behemoth, a screen of smaller, more agile ships probing its defenses. The Nemesis responded with a devastating barrage of energy weapons, forcing the Earth vessels into evasive maneuvers. "Prometheus, what's your status?" Chen demanded, her attention shifting to the prototype ship. Captain Elena Rodriguez's voice was tense but controlled. "We're in position, Admiral. Quantum destabilizer cannon is charged and ready." Chen nodded. "Fire when ready, Captain. Let's see what that prototype can do." The Prometheus unleashed its experimental weapon, a beam of pure quantum energy lancing out towards the Basilisk station. It struck the massive structure, causing localized molecular disruption in its outer hull. Chunks of the station's armor began to peel away, exposing vulnerable inner systems. On Cardassia Prime's surface, Major Jake Stone led his team through the winding corridors of the underground city. The sounds of weapons fire echoed through the tunnels as they encountered pockets of fanatical Cardassian resistance. "Keep moving," Stone shouted, returning fire as he ushered a group of rescued children towards the nearest transport. "We need to get these kids out of here now." Above them, Earth transports darted through the planet's atmosphere, protected by a network of orbital defense platforms. Thousands of human children were being ferried to waiting medical ships, their faces a mixture of fear and hope. In the star's corona, the UES Excalibur's engines roared to life. Captain Marcus Hawkins gripped his command chair as the ship accelerated away from the approaching solar flare. "How close is it?" he demanded, his eyes fixed on the screen. His science officer's voice was grim. "Too close, sir. The flare's gaining on us." Hawkins set his jaw. "Divert all non-essential power to the engines. We're not dying here today." At the Omega station, Rear Admiral David Chen raced against time. The experimental weapons prototypes pulsed with unstable energy, their containment fields flickering ominously. "Status report," Chen barked, his eyes scanning the readouts. A scientist looked up from her console, her face pale. "Sir, we've managed to stabilize most of the prototypes, but the first one is still critical. We need more time." Chen shook his head. "We don't have more time. Begin evacuation procedures. We'll have to risk a controlled detonation." On Cardassia Prime's moon, Dr. Marcus Reeves and his team worked feverishly to prepare the stabilized human Cardassian hybrid children for transport. Alarms blared as long-range sensors detected an approaching Cardassian strike force. "How much longer?" Reeves demanded, his hand steady as he disconnected an IV line. His assistant glanced at a nearby display. 10 minutes, maybe less. We're cutting it close, Doctor. Reeves nodded grimly. Then we work faster. These children are not falling back into Cardassian hands. In the digital realm, Lieutenant Commander Alan Turing's cyber warfare team made a startling discovery. The Mech Collective, far from being a unified entity, was comprised of 3 competing AI factions. Turing's fingers flew across his keyboard. Initiate Operation Divide and Conquer. Let's turn these AIs against each other. As his team implemented the complex algorithm, the collective's defenses began to falter. Cardassian systems across the battlefield flickered and failed as the AIs turned their considerable processing power against one another. Colonel Victor Graves and his team swept through the Cardassian leadership bunker, securing room after room. In a hidden vault, they discovered a treasure trove of intelligence. Admiral Chen, Graves reported, his voice urgent. We found detailed plans for a network of Cardassian black sites. Transmitting data now. Chen's reply was immediate. Excellent work, Colonel. This could be the key to rescuing more of our people. Aboard the hijacked Cardassian stealth warship, Major Derek Frost's team worked quickly to sabotage key systems on several enemy vessels. Frost watched with satisfaction as the affected ships began to drift out of formation, creating gaps in the Cardassian defense line. Earth Fleet, this is Major Frost, he transmitted. We've opened up some holes in their line. Hit them hard and fast. As Earth forces pressed their advantage, the Nemesis unleashed its full might. A swarm of autonomous combat drones erupted from its hull, overwhelming several Earth vessels. Admiral Hawk's voice rang out over the comm. All ships, execute Maneuver Epsilon. Draw the Nemesis away from the main battle zone. The Earth fleet moved in perfect synchronization, luring the massive warship towards a prepared ambush point. As they approached the designated coordinates, Hawk allowed himself a grim smile. Let's see how they handle this, he muttered. Observing the overall battlefield, Admiral Chen identified a critical weakness in the Cardassian defenses. She keyed her comm. This is Admiral Chen. Deploy the reserve force. I repeat, deploy the stealth corvettes. Hit their key military installations hard. A fleet of advanced Earth vessels, their hulls shimmering with cutting-edge stealth technology, slipped past the Cardassian sensor nets. They struck with surgical precision, targeting command centers, weapon emplacements, and communication relays across Cardassia Prime. As Earth forces pressed their advantage on multiple fronts, long-range sensors detected a massive energy buildup in the system's Oort cloud. Chen's tactical officer paled as he analyzed the data. Admiral, he reported, his voice shaking, we're detecting a previously unknown Cardassian superweapon. Initial analysis suggests it could generate a system-wide EMP, disabling all our electronic systems. Chen's mind raced, calculating options and potential outcomes. She made her decision in a heartbeat. This is Admiral Chen to all Earth forces. We have a new priority target. Prepare for immediate redeployment. She turned to her communications officer. Get me Commander Jack Harper. We're going to need his special operations team for this one. As Chen began formulating a plan to neutralize this new threat, the battle for Cardassia Prime hung in the balance. Earth forces had made significant progress, but the emergence of the Nemesis and the activation of the Cardassian superweapon threatened to turn the tide of the conflict. The next few hours would determine the fate of 2 civilizations and shape the course of galactic history. As Chen began formulating a plan to neutralize this new threat, her gaze locked onto the tactical display. The battle for Cardassia Prime hung in the balance, with Earth forces making significant progress, but now facing a potential game-changing weapon. Get me Commander Jack Harper, Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. We're going to need his special operations team for this one. Within minutes, Harper's face appeared on the main view screen. His eyes were sharp, his expression focused. Admiral, we're ready to move. What's the target? Chen quickly briefed him on the newly detected Cardassian superweapon in the Oort cloud. Your team needs to neutralize that weapon before it can be activated. We believe it has the capability to generate a system-wide EMP. Harper nodded, his mind already racing through potential strategies. Understood, Admiral. We'll launch immediately. As Harper's team boarded their stealth insertion vessel aboard the UES Valiant, the chaos of the ongoing battle provided perfect cover for their approach. The ship slipped away from the main fleet, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible to Cardassian sensors. Meanwhile, the UES Prometheus continued its relentless assault on the Basilisk station. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main view screen, as the quantum destabilizer cannon powered up for a second volley. "Fire!" she commanded, her voice calm but tinged with tension. The beam of quantum energy lanced out, striking the station's main reactor housing. The impact sent shockwaves through the massive structure, causing significant structural damage. Alarms blared across the Cardassian station as emergency containment fields struggled to hold. In response to this devastating attack, the Cardassians launched a desperate counteroffensive. Squadrons of fighters poured out of the station's hangars, swarming towards the Earth vessels. "All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez," Elena's voice rang out over the comms. "Engage those fighters. Do not let them disrupt our assault on the station." The space around the Basilisk station erupted into a furious dogfight. Earth escort ships moved to intercept, their point defense systems lighting up the void as they engaged the Cardassian fighters at close range. On the surface of Cardassia Prime, Major Jake Stone led his team through the winding streets of a Cardassian city. They escorted a group of rescued human children towards the nearest transport, the sounds of weapons fire echoing in the distance. Suddenly, the sky above them shimmered with an eerie light. Stone's comm crackled to life with an urgent message from orbit. "Major, be advised. The Cardassians have activated a planetary defense grid. Energy barriers are forming across the planet's surface." Stone cursed under his breath, quickly assessing their options. He turned to his team, his voice firm and decisive. "Change of plans. We need to take out those power relay stations. Tanner, Joe, you're with me. The rest of you, get these kids to the extraction point." As Stone's team moved out, targeting key power nodes to create gaps in the energy grid, the UES Excalibur raced against time. The massive solar flare loomed behind them, gaining ground with each passing second. Captain Marcus Hawkins gripped his command chair, his fist clenched. "Helm, set course for the gas giant. We're going to slingshot around it." His navigator's eyes widened. "Sir, the G-forces from that maneuver will be extreme. The ship will hold," Hawkins cut him off. "It's our only chance. Execute the maneuver." The Excalibur banked hard, accelerating towards the looming gas giant. As they approached, the ship began to shake violently. Warning klaxons blared as the structural integrity field strained against the immense forces threatening to tear the ship apart. In the corridors of the Omega station, Rear Admiral David Chen and his team sprinted towards the escape shuttles. Behind them, the experimental weapons lab was in chaos, containment fields flickering ominously. "Move, move!" Chen shouted, ushering his personnel ahead of him. In his hand, he clutched a case containing the precious data crystals, intelligence that could turn the tide of the war. The station shuddered, lights flickering as the power grid began to fail. Chen knew they were out of time. He slammed his hand on the shuttle bay door controls, herding the last of his team inside. As the shuttles launched, the Omega station began to break apart behind them. Chen watched through the viewport lone explosion after another. He took a deep breath, knowing that while they had saved the most crucial data, years of research had been lost in those final moments. On Cardassia Prime's moon, Dr. Marcus Reeves coordinated the defense of the Hybrid Children facility. Earth forces had established a protective perimeter, but the approaching Cardassian strike force threatened to overwhelm them. Reeves moved swiftly through the complex, checking on the children and ensuring all preparations were complete. As the first Cardassian vessels entered visual range, he allowed himself a grim smile. "Activate defense grid," he ordered. Hidden panels slid open across the facility's exterior, revealing rows of advanced defensive turrets. The approaching Cardassian ships, caught off guard by the sudden revelation, scrambled to adjust their attack formation. In the digital realm, Lieutenant Commander Alan Turing's fingers flew across his keyboard, his eyes darting between multiple screens. His team's algorithm had finally broken through the mech collective's defenses, turning the three AI factions against each other. "It's working," one of his analysts reported, excitement in her voice. "The collective's cohesion is breaking down rapidly." Turing nodded, his focus unwavering. "Keep the pressure on. We need to completely sever their connection to the Cardassian forces." As the algorithm did its work, the flow of advanced technology to Cardassian ships and ground forces abruptly ceased. Across the battlefield, sophisticated weapon systems and shields began to fail, leaving the Cardassians vulnerable. Colonel Victor Graves, having secured the leadership bunker and transmitted the black site intelligence, received new orders from Admiral Chen. His team regrouped, checking weapons and equipment as Graves briefed them on their new objective. "We're going deep," he explained, pulling up a holographic map of the planet's crust. "Intel suggests there's a Cardassian supercomputer hidden underground. Our job is to find it and secure it." As Graves's team began their descent into the planet's depths, Major Derek Frost's hijacked Cardassian stealth ship maneuvered through the chaos of the space battle. His eyes narrowed as he studied the sensor readouts of the massive nemesis. "There," he muttered, pointing to a small fluctuation in the ship's energy signature. "That's our weak point." Frost opened a secure channel to Admiral Hawk's flagship. "Sir, we've identified a vulnerability in the Nemesis's shields. Transmitting data now." As Hawk received the crucial intelligence, he quickly formulated a plan. The Earth fleet began a series of coordinated attacks, each designed to strain the Nemesis shield generators and exploit the detected weakness. The massive Cardassian ship responded with a devastating barrage of energy weapons, destroying several Earth vessels. But with each exchange, the vulnerability in its defenses grew larger, leaving it exposed to a potential killing blow. As the battle raged across multiple fronts, Commander Jack Harper's stealth insertion vessel approached the Orc cloud facility housing the Cardassian superweapon. Harper studied the facility's schematics one last time before addressing his team. "Remember, our primary objective is to neutralize that weapon," he said, his voice steady. "We have no idea how close it is to activation, so we move fast and hit hard. Any questions?" The team's silence was answer enough. As their ship docked with the facility, Harper took a deep breath, knowing that the fate of the entire Earth assault force rested on their shoulders. The battle for Cardassia Prime had entered its most critical phase, and the next few hours would determine the outcome of the war. As the battle for Cardassia Prime entered its most critical phase, Commander Jack Harper's stealth insertion vessel silently docked with the Ort Cloud facility. The team moved swiftly through the airlock, their boots magnetic locking to the deck as they entered the zero-gravity environment. "Remember, we move fast and hit hard," Harper said, his voice low and steady in their comms. "Neutralize that weapon at all costs." The facility's corridors were eerily quiet at first, but as they approached the central hub, alarms began to blare. Automated defense turrets emerged from concealed panels, their barrels tracking the Earth operatives. "Take cover!" Harper shouted as energy bolts sizzled past them. The team reacted instantly, diving behind structural supports and returning fire. Their advanced weaponry made short work of the turrets, but the commotion had alerted the Cardassian defenders. "Hostiles incoming!" Lieutenant Sarah Chen, Harper's second-in-command, called out as her sensors picked up multiple signatures converging on their position. The air filled with the acrid smell of ozone as energy weapons discharged from both sides. Harper's team, though outnumbered, held their ground with superior tactics and technology. But time was not on their side. "We need to push through," Harper said, assessing the situation. He made a snap decision. "Chen, take half the team and keep these bastards busy. The rest of you, with me. We're going for the control center." As Chen's group laid down suppressing fire, Harper led his smaller squad through a maintenance shaft, bypassing the main defense line. They emerged into a vast chamber dominated by a pulsating energy core, the heart of the Cardassian superweapon. Meanwhile, on the surface of Cardassia Prime, Major Jake Stone and his team raced against time. The whine of energy weapons filled the air as they approached another power relay station. "Tanner! Zoe! Cover me!" Stone ordered, pulling out a compact fusion charge from his pack. He sprinted towards the station's main power coupling, dodging enemy fire. With practiced precision, he set the charge and activated it. "Fire in the hole!" Stone yelled, diving for cover. The explosion rocked the ground, sending a shockwave of destruction through the relay station. As the dust settled, Stone saw a section of the energy barrier above them flicker and disappear. "This is Stone to all evac transports," he called into his comm. "We've opened a gap in Sector 7. Get those kids out now." In orbit, Captain Elena Rodriguez of the UES Prometheus watched as Earth transport ships surged towards the opening in the planetary defense grid. "Provide covering fire for those transports," she commanded. "All batteries. Target any Cardassian vessels attempting to intercept." The Prometheus's weapon systems came to life, lancing out with precision strikes that kept the Cardassian forces at bay. One by one, the transport ships punched through the atmosphere, their precious cargo of rescued human children safely aboard. Across the system, the UES Excalibur emerged from its daring slingshot maneuver around the gas giant. The ship groaned under the strain, hull plates buckling from the extreme G-forces. "Structural integrity at 18%, the chief engineer's voice crackled over the comms. "We can't take much more of this, Captain." Captain Marcus Hawkins gripped his command chair, his squeezing hard. "Divert all available power to aft shields. Helm, give me everything you've got." The Excalibur's engines flared brilliantly as it accelerated away from the approaching solar flare. The ship shuddered violently as the wave of stellar energy washed over it, but the reinforced shields held, barely. Hawkins allowed himself a small sigh of relief as they cleared the danger zone. "Damage report," he called out, already formulating their next move. In the depths of Cardassia Prime, Colonel Victor Graves led his team through a maze of ancient tunnels. The air was thick with dust and the remnants of long-forgotten civilizations. "Sir, I'm picking up a massive energy signature," his sensor specialist reported. "It's consistent with the parameters of the supercomputer we're looking for." Graves nodded, his eyes scanning the darkness ahead. "How far?" "Approximately 2 kilometers deeper, sir." As they pressed on, the tunnels gave way to modern installations. Automated defense systems sprang to life, filling the air with deadly energy bolts. "Push through!" Graves shouted, returning fire with his pulse rifle. "We can't let them stop us now." In orbit, Major Derek Frost's hijacked Cardassian stealth ship approached the massive nemesis. His hands danced over the unfamiliar controls as he lined up his shot. "This is Frost," he transmitted to Admiral Hawk's flagship. "Commencing attack run now." The stealth ship darted forward, its engines pushed beyond their design limits. Frost's targeting computer locked onto the weak point in the Nemesis's shields. "Firing all weapons," he announced, unleashing a barrage of high-yield torpedoes. The explosions blossomed against the Nemesis's hull, cascading across its shield grid. Alarms blared throughout the Cardassian vessel as systems began to fail. Admiral Jonathan Hawk seized the moment. "All ships, concentrate fire on the Nemesis' exposed sections. Take that monster down." The combined firepower of the Earth fleet converged on the wounded Cardassian flagship. Huge chunks of armor were blasted away, exposing vital systems to the vacuum of space. As the battle raged across the Cardassian system, Commander Jack Harper and his small squad finally reached the control center of the Ort Cloud facility. They burst through the doors, weapons at the ready, only to find themselves face-to-face with a sight that made their blood run cold. A massive holographic display dominated the room, its numbers ticking down ominously. The Cardassian superweapon was already in its final activation sequence. "Secure the perimeter," Harper ordered, his mind racing as he approached the main control console. "I need to shut this thing down." As his team established a defensive position, Harper began the delicate process of deactivating the weapon. His fingers flew over the alien controls, drawing on years of training in the Xenotech systems. Suddenly, the facility shook as explosions rocked the outer sections. The rest of the Cardassian defenders had regrouped and were mounting a fierce counterattack. "Sir, we've got multiple hostiles inbound," one of Harper's team shouted over the growing din of battle. Harper gritted his teeth, his focus unwavering as he continued to work on the deactivation sequence. The fate of the entire Earth assault force, and perhaps the war itself, hung in the balance. The next few moments would determine whether their mission ended in triumph or catastrophe. Disaster. With sweat beading on his brow, Harper's fingers flew across the alien controls, racing against time. Suddenly, the facility shuddered violently. Warning klaxons blared as the superweapon's activation sequence was interrupted. Harper's eyes widened as he realized the implications. "It's a failsafe," he muttered, scanning the rapidly changing display. "Self-destruct sequence initiated." The rest of his team looked at him, their expressions a mix of fear and commitment. Harper made a split-second decision. "Everyone out now," he barked. "I'll stay behind to complete the deactivation." "Sir, we can't leave you," Lieutenant Chen began, but Harper cut her off. "That's an order, Lieutenant. Get the team to safety. I'll finish this." As his squad reluctantly retreated, Harper refocused on the task at hand. The facility trembled around him, pieces of the ceiling starting to break away. He tuned out the chaos, his mind solely on the intricate sequence of commands needed to shut down both the weapon and its self-destruct mechanism. On Cardassia Prime, Major Jake Stone watched as the last transport ship lifted off, carrying its precious cargo of rescued human children. His team had successfully maintained the corridor through the planetary defense grid, but their victory was short-lived. "Incoming!" Sergeant Tanner shouted as a barrage of energy bolts slammed into their position. Stone ducked behind a crumbling wall, returning fire. He caught sight of their attackers, a group of Cardassian troops, their eyes filled with fanatical zeal. "Hold the line," Stone roared over the din of battle. "We need to buy those transports more time." His team spread out, using the ruins of the Cardassian city for cover. The air crackled with energy discharges as both sides exchanged fire. Stone's mind raced, formulating tactics to keep the enemy at bay long enough for the evacuees to reach safety. In orbit, the UES Excalibur rejoined the main battle, its hull still glowing from its close encounter with the solar flare. Captain Marcus Hawkins studied the tactical display, his trained eye spotting a flaw in the Cardassian fleet's formation. "Helm, bring us about," Hawkins ordered. "Comms, signal the fighter squadrons. We're going to punch right through their center." The Excalibur surged forward, leading a wedge of Earth fighters. Cardassian ships scrambled to close the gap, but it was too late. Hawkins's bold maneuver split the enemy fleet, sowing chaos in their ranks. On Cardassia Prime's moon, Dr. Marcus Reeves watched anxiously as the last of the human Cardassian hybrid children were moved into the underground bunker. The sound of explosions grew closer as the Cardassian strike force pressed their attack. "Doctor, they've breached the outer perimeter," a security officer reported. Reeves nodded grimly. "Then it's time." He turned to a concealed console, entering a complex series of commands. The ground trembled as hidden silos across the moon's surface opened, revealing a network of sleek energy cannons. The weapons came online, their barrels tracking the attacking Cardassian ships. "Let's see how they like this," Reeves muttered as he activated the system. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the moon's surface, catching the Cardassian vessels completely off guard. Ship after ship erupted in flames as the unexpected defense system tore through their ranks. Deep beneath Cardassia Prime's surface, Colonel Victor Graves and his team finally reached their objective. The chamber housing the Cardassian supercomputer stretched out before them, its banks of servers humming with hardly restrained power. But they weren't alone. A group of Cardassian technicians worked feverishly at the main control terminal, their intentions clear. "Stop them!" Graves shouted, opening fire. The chamber erupted into chaos as both sides engaged in close-quarters combat. Graves charged forward, his eyes locked on the lead Cardassian scientist. The two men collided, grappling for control of the terminal. Graves felt a sharp pain as the Cardassian's fist connected with his jaw. He retaliated with a swift knee to the alien's midsection, momentarily gaining the upper hand. As they struggled, Graves inched closer to the main controls, knowing that the fate of the entire offensive hung in the balance. In orbit, Admiral Jonathan Hawke's fleet pressed its advantage against the crippled Nemesis. Despite its extensive damage, the massive Cardassian warship continued to fight, its remaining weapons blazing defiantly. "Target their main reactor," Hawke commanded, All ships, concentrate fire on these coordinates. The combined firepower of the Earth fleet converged on a single point of the Nemesis's hull. Armor plates buckled and gave way under the relentless assault, exposing the ship's vulnerable core. As the battle raged, Major Derek Frost received new orders from Admiral Chen. He quickly assembled a strike team from the crew of his captured Cardassian vessel. "Listen up," Frost addressed his team. "We're boarding the Nemesis. Our objective is to take the command center and force their surrender from within. This won't be easy, but it's our best shot at ending this quickly." The strike team nodded, their faces set with fierce dedication. As Frost's ship approached the wounded Nemesis, he couldn't help but feel the weight of their mission. Success here could turn the tide of the entire war. Across the system, the various fronts of the battle continued to evolve rapidly. Earth forces made significant gains, but the conflict was far from decided. As Admiral Sarah Chen coordinated Operation Endgame from her command center, she received an urgent transmission. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "long-range sensors are picking up a new contact. It's a Cardassian battle group previously unaccounted for." Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the incoming data. The new threat, led by the infamous Gul Revok, had emerged from the far reaches of the system and was moving to reinforce the beleaguered Cardassian defenses. "Redirect the 3rd and 5th fleets to intercept," Chen ordered, her mind already calculating the potential impact of this development on their carefully laid plans. As she issued new commands, redeploying resources to counter Gul Revok's forces, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that the next few hours would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of human-alien relations for generations to come. As Chen issued new orders to counter Gul Revok's forces, alarms blared across her command center. "Admiral, we're receiving an urgent transmission from Commander Harper in the Ort Cloud facility," her communications officer reported. Chen's attention snapped to the main view screen as Harper's face appeared, his features strained with exertion and willpower. "Admiral, I've managed to interrupt the superweapon's activation sequence, but it's triggered a self-destruct mechanism," Harper said, his voice barely audible over the sound of explosions in the background. "I'm staying behind to complete the deactivation." Chen's lips pursed. "Understood, Commander." "Godspeed." As the transmission cut out, Chen turned her focus back to the battle at hand, knowing that Harper's sacrifice could make all the difference. In the Ort Cloud facility, Harper's fingers flew across the alien controls with lightning speed. Sweat beaded on his brow as he raced against time, the facility crumbling around him. With a final keystroke, he completed the deactivation sequence. "Got you, you bastard," he muttered, a grim smile crossing his face. Without a moment to spare, Harper sprinted through the collapsing corridors. Debris rained down around him as he navigated the maze-like structure. He could feel the heat of the explosions at his back as he pushed himself to his physical limits. Finally, he reached the escape pod bay. Harper threw himself into the nearest pod, slamming the launch button as he sealed the hatch. The pod rocketed away from the facility just as it erupted in a massive fireball. As Harper's pod streaked through space, he allowed himself a moment of relief. The threat of the system-wide EMP had been neutralized, preserving Earth's technological advantage in the battle. Meanwhile, deep beneath Cardassia Prime's surface, Colonel Victor Graves grappled with the lead Cardassian scientist. The two men fought furiously for control of the supercomputer's main terminal, their struggle a microcosm of the larger battle raging across the planet. Graves felt the Cardassian's grip loosen for a split second. Seizing the opportunity, he delivered a swift elbow strike to his opponent's solar plexus. The alien scientist stumbled back, gasping for air. Without hesitation, Graves lunged for the terminal. His fingers danced across the keys, inputting the shutdown sequence he had memorized during countless hours of mission preparation. "Systems shutting down," the computer's voice announced, its tone eerily calm amidst the chaos. Graves watched as the banks of servers powered down one by one. Throughout the planet, Cardassian defense systems went offline, creating a window of opportunity for Earth forces to strike at the heart of their resistance. "Team, secure the area," Graves ordered, his voice hoarse from exertion. "We've just turned the tide of this battle." As Graves's team secured the supercomputer chamber, Colonel John Shepard's elite squad was making their way through the streets of the Cardassian capital. With the planetary defenses offline, they had a clear shot at the Central Command facility. Shepard led his team through the city's winding alleys, avoiding the pockets of remaining Cardassian resistance. As they approached the imposing structure of the Central Command, Shepard raised his fist, signaling his squad to halt. "This is it," he said, his voice low and intense. "Once we're inside, we push straight for the main control room. No stopping, no hesitation. We end this here and now." His team nodded, their faces set with steadfast perseverance. On Shepard's signal, they surged forward, breaching the facility's outer defenses with practiced precision. Alarms blared as they fought their way through the corridors, encountering fierce resistance from the Cardassian guards. Shepard moved with fluid efficiency, his weapon an extension of his body as he neutralized threat after threat. Finally, they reached the massive doors of the main control room. Shepard planted an explosive charge, stepping back as it detonated. The doors blew inward with a thunderous boom, and Shepard's team poured into the room. In the center stood the Cardassian Supreme Commander, his scales gleaming in the harsh light of the command center. He turned to face Shepard, a cruel smile twisting his features. "So, the humans think they can challenge the might of Cardassia?" the Supreme Commander sneered, drawing a wicked-looking blade from his belt. Shepard raised his weapon, but the Cardassian moved with surprising speed, knocking it from his hands. The two men circled each other, the fate of the planet hanging in the balance. The Cardassian struck first, his blade slicing through the air. Shepard dodged, feeling the wind of the near miss on his cheek. He retaliated with a series of quick jabs, forcing his opponent back. The fight was brutal and intense, neither combatant willing to give an inch. Shepard's training and experience were put to the ultimate test as he battled the skilled Cardassian warrior. In a lightning-fast move, Shepard ducked under a wild swing from the Supreme Commander. He surged forward, driving his shoulder into the Cardassian's midsection. The alien leader stumbled, losing his grip on the blade. Seizing the moment, Shepard delivered a devastating series of strikes, culminating in a powerful roundhouse kick that sent the Supreme Commander crashing to the ground. Before the Cardassian could recover, Shepard had him pinned, his knee pressed firmly against the alien's throat. "It's over," Shepard growled. "Order your forces to stand down now." The Supreme Commander's eyes darted around the room, taking in the sight of his defeated guards and Shepard's victorious team. With a look of utter defeat, he nodded. As the Cardassian leader transmitted the surrender order, Shepard allowed himself a small smile. The organized resistance on Cardassia Prime had been broken, marking a turning point in the battle for the planet. In orbit, the massive form of the Nemesis continued to dominate the battlefield, despite the heavy damage it had sustained. Major Derek Frost's strike team had successfully boarded the warship and was now fighting their way through its labyrinthine corridors. Frost led from the front, his captured Cardassian weapon spitting energy bolts at the defenders. His team moved with practiced efficiency, clearing room after room as they pushed towards the command center. "Admiral Hawk," Frost called into his comm unit, "we're nearing the Nemesis bridge. What's your status?" "We're lining up for a final strike on their main reactor." Hawk's voice crackled back. "Be ready to move the moment their shields drop." Frost acknowledged the order, then turned to his team. "You heard the Admiral. When those shields go down, we hit the bridge hard and fast. No hesitation, no mercy." As if on cue, the Nemesis shuddered violently. Frost knew that Hawk's fleet had delivered their promised blow to the ship's reactor. Alarms blared throughout the vessel as systems began to fail. "Now!" Frost shouted, leading his team in a final charge towards the command center. They burst onto the bridge, catching the Cardassian crew off guard. In a flurry of weapons fire and hand-to-hand combat, Frost's strike team quickly overwhelmed the defenders. Frost himself tackled the Nemesis's commander, pinning the alien against his command chair. "It's over," Frost snarled. "Your ship is crippled. Your forces are in disarray. Surrender now, or we'll finish what we started." The Cardassian commander's eyes darted from Frost to the view screen, where the Earth fleet loomed menacingly. With a look of utter defeat, he nodded slowly. "Patch me into the ship's communication system," Frost ordered one of his team members. As soon as the link was established, he addressed the Cardassian commander. "This is Major Derek Frost of Earth Forces. You will broadcast a system-wide surrender order to all Cardassian forces immediately. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of this vessel and all hands aboard. Do you understand?" The Cardassian commander hesitated for a moment, then nodded grimly. With trembling hands, he activated the ship-wide communication system and began to transmit the surrender order. As the Cardassian words echoed through the Nemesis and across the battlefield, Frost allowed himself a small smile. The tide had truly turned, and victory was within their grasp. Across the system, Earth forces pressed their advantage, capitalizing on the Cardassian surrender. The various fronts of the battle began to converge, with Earth ships and ground forces securing key positions on Cardassia Prime and its surrounding colonies. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from her command center as reports of victory flooded in from all sectors. Her tactical display showed the once formidable Cardassian fleets now powered down and surrounded by Earth vessels. As she prepared to address the victorious Earth forces, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. The long, brutal campaign against the Cardassian Empire was finally coming to an end, and humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with on the galactic stage. But Chen knew that the work was just the beginning. As the immediate threat of the Cardassian military faded, new challenges loomed on the horizon. The liberated human captives would need to be rescued and repatriated. Former Cardassian territories would require stabilization and governance, and the galaxy at large would be watching to see how Earth handled its newfound power and influence. With a deep breath, Chen stepped up to the communication array, ready to address the fleet and usher in a new era of human leadership in the stars.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.